Exeter Stadium. It is game 3 between number 4 Carolina and Stanford. Along with Ben Mahalovich, I'm Dave Nathan. We welcome you back to business as the Tar Heels enter play today at 14-1. Stanford 11-3. Both teams have won a game in this series, but Ben, Carolina definitely bounced back after dropping game 1 13-9. The Heels run-ruled Stanford on Saturday, winning 11-1.
Yeah, we knew that going into that game yesterday, Carolina was pretty angry about dropping the first game of the series, and the Tar Heels showed it early, got on the bats early. A dominant pitching performance from Jake Knapp kept the Stanford bats at bay, and Carolina cruised to an easy 11-1 victory.
Aiden Howe, Carolina's Sunday starter, has cruised to a 2-0 start to begin his second campaign in Carolina blue. Houck, a 6'6", 229-pound senior righty out of Zebulon, has racked up a 3.14 ERA through 14 1/3 innings. Opponents hitting just .226 off the Tar Heel hurler. He'll see Trevor Haskins, the leadoff man for Stanford, Brandon Larson, the DH, hitting second, and Rentaro Sasaki in the top of the first. His initial offering to the righty is downstairs, and a ball 1-0. Our official Reed's Jewelers first pitch time came your way at 1:02. Reed's Jewelers, your home for fine Swiss timepieces, beautiful diamonds, and the world's most luxurious jewelry brands. The 1-0 fastball stays low and outside, and Haskins ahead in the count 2-0. Hitting .327 in his senior campaign, he leads Stanford with 5 homers and 18 driven in. The 2-0. Fastball ticked foul. 2-1 on a bright and sunny day here in Chapel Hill. Temperatures might not get out of the 50s, but it's a good look for Carolina and Stanford here as we get into the middle of March. The 2-1. Fastball out over the plate, touching 94 on the radar gun. That's ricocheted foul, and after Houck fell behind 2-0, it's a 2-2 count to Trevor Haskins, Stanford's leadoff man.
Houck's got only fastballs so far, sitting 93, 94 miles an hour.
Here's the next offering. Went off speed there and deflected foul to keep the count at 2 strikes. Houck's got a fastball that can get up into the mid-90s, a curveball, and he also just demonstrated the changeup. Houck's next pitch to the plate. Grounded foul behind third base. It remains 2 strikes to Haskins as Stanford goes with the crimson tops with white lettering, the traveling gray pants and the crimson helmets. The Tar Heels in Carolina blue tops and bottoms with navy blue ball caps and navy blue sleeves. The next 2-2, that's straightened out and grounded over to third base. Well off the line, Gallagher gets to it, slings a shot over to first base and gets his man. Haskins set down 5-3 for the first out of this afternoon's game.
Easy play there for Gallagher. Just got around the baseball, squared it up, made sure to keep it in front of him, and a couple steps into the throw over to Stokely. Stokely's a pretty big target, so throw from Gallagher a little high, but it doesn't look that way on Stokely.
Stokely 6'3", 241 over at first base. Larson, meanwhile, at the plate 6'6", 242, and the lefty takes a 95-mile-per-hour heater for his strike. It's 0-1. No score, just getting started in the final game of the series between the Heels and Cardinal. The 0-1. Swing and lifted up into shallow left field out in the sunlight. Hargett comes in, makes a shoulder-high catch. Manages to keep his feet after a nervy moment. And there's 2 quick outs as Houck has set down Haskins and Larson, which brings up Rentaro Sasaki.
That was a good play by Perry Hargett. We saw him miss a similar ball in the first game of this series. I think he lost it in the light. Good job there to battle the sun a little bit and make sure he secured the out. And now Sasaki, the only Stanford Cardinal who really warrants a shift, comes to the plate.
And it's a big shift. Stokely close to the line at first. 2 infielders on the outfield grass in right center. And Gallagher just left of second base as the first pitch swatted foul by Sasaki. 0-1 to the native of Japan. The freshman hits for a .339 average. No homers, 14 driven in. The 0-1. Houck blew another fastball by him. That was foul tipped into the glove of Stevenson. It's no balls and 2 strikes. Just gave you the Carolina infield. The outfield has Hargett in left, Kepley in center, Tyson Bass out and right. Houck readies to fire the 0-2 to Sasaki. It's outside.
It's amazing that Sasaki is hitting .339 when he was without a home run, when he was lauded for all the power he has in his bat. He's got a big frame, strong legs, but not able to go deep yet.
1-2. Drifted foul on the ground up against the bricks first base side. 2 down, nobody on. Stanford at the plate in the top half of the first. No score. 6th all-time meeting between these two programs on either side of the country. Houck's 1-2. Fastball popped up softly into shallow right center field. Vanderbrake twisting and turning. And that's Madera underneath it to make the grab. Again with that pronounced shift. It's the shortstop back there in right center to make the play. And Sasaki set down on the P6. So it's 3 up and 3 down. The Tar Heels to the plate with no score, heading into the home half of the first inning. This is Carolina baseball. Brought to you by B&T Heating and Air Conditioning. B&T Heating and Air Conditioning, family owned and doing it right the first time. Every time, currently sitting at 52 degrees. There was some earlier cloud cover, but most of that's broken up. As we look upwards here from the press box behind the plate, there is almost nothing but blue skies as Carolina and Stanford head into the home half of the first with no score. The Cardinal toss Joey Volchko today, 6'4", 218-pound sophomore righty out of Visalia, California, a record of 1-0. The ERA is elevated up over 7.5 opponents, hitting .211 off of the hard-throwing righty.
Volchko is going to mix in fastball, slider, curveball, and a changeup. People say that his slider actually looks a lot like Matty Mateus's slider in the way that it breaks. Going to face a pair of lefties off the start. 40% fastball against the lefty, 52% slider against lefties. So Kepley should be looking for an off-speed pitch here early in counts.
Kepley leads off for Carolina, followed by Luke Stevenson, then Gavin Gallagher. Hunter Stokely batting cleanup. The right fielder Tyson Bass and Alex Madera round out the middle third of the order. Jackson Vandenbrake, McCadden Dye DHing and hitting 8th, and Perry Hargett. That's today's starting lineups, presented by Coors Light, Mountain Cold Refreshment, Choose Chill, and official beer of your North Carolina Tar Heels. Volchko's first pitch to the lefty Kepley. 97-mile-per-hour fastball inside. A ball and no strikes to the Liberty transfer. Kepley brings a .333 average into this afternoon's game with 8 RBIs. The 1-0, that is ripped just foul past first base. Kepley had visions of another triple dancing in his head. He's already got 3 on the season. That leads the ACC, but that was foul by inches. Whacked past first base on a line. 1 ball and 1 strike.
This is the most velo Carolina has seen this year.
The 1-1. Volchko goes to the slider, 2-1. Kepley ahead in the count, leading things off for the Tar Heels. Winner of today's game wins the series. Volchko's 2-1. Ducked inside, 3 balls and a strike to Kepley. Charlie Somm behind the plate catching. Sasaki at first base. Nadai at second. The shortstop's Becerra. Haskins at the hot corner. The outfield after the 3-1 pitch. It's on the way. And Kepley takes a strike on the outside corner with another big fastball touching 97. Ethan Hott out in the sunlight of left field. Charlie Bates in center. And out in right, it's Brady Reynolds. Made a fantastic play, stealing a would-be extra base hit from Gallagher on Friday night. Here's the payoff pitch from the righty to the lefty. And Kepley bounces it into the visiting dugout first base side. Still 3-2 to Kepley. On base percentage for Kane, up over .530. He's a threat to get on whether he gets a hit, a walk, or takes an HBP, something he's done 9 times already this season. Next 3-2, and that's strike 3. As Volchko goes over the outside corner with something that, relatively speaking, was off speed for him touching 90. That wasn't the fastball, but it was good enough to get the job done, Ben, and that's one down for the Heels in the first.
Yeah, it's something that Carolina's going to have to learn from today, both offensively and defensively, is that Greg Charles, the home plate umpire, is going to be giving that strike maybe on that outer third or even a little off the plate. So batters will have to adjust to that pitch. And, hey, Aiden Houck can learn something from that, too, and try and hit that spot.
Here's Stevenson with the bases clear and one away in the first. No score. Volchko into his motion. And fires a fastball off the plate. 1 ball and no strikes to Stevenson, who had himself a heck of a ball game yesterday. Homering twice, 3rd time in his career with a multiple home run game, and one of those dingers traveled 448 feet over the right center field fence. The 1-0. Taken high, and that's ball 2. So with those 2 home runs yesterday, Stevenson tied for the team lead with 5. He's driven in 18, which is 2nd best on the team, and his average has crept up to 321 after his first 4-hit performance of 2025. The 2-0. Big fastball beats Stevenson's swing. 2-1. Stevenson's used to catching some of these mid to upper 90s fastballs, but being at the plate, it is a different deal.
It's much different, especially if you don't know what pitch is coming.
Infield shift protecting the right side with Stevenson awaiting the 2-1. Takes a strike on the extreme outer half. 2-2. So there have been varying strike zones for all 3 games, and again, it's a small sample size for today. Things were tight on Friday. They expanded yesterday, and they seem like they're a little bit bigger today. The 2-2. Fastball skips in the dirt inside. 3 balls and 2 strikes to Carolina's catcher. With Greg Charles calling the balls and strikes, Chris Ward down the line at first base. The second base umpire with his hands on hips, Jeff Gosney. And down the line at third, arms extended, it's Blake Felix. Payoff pitch. Stevenson hit that off his front foot. Takes a couple of hops out in front of the plate as it rolls towards first. That's a foul ball, but that hurts. And for as tough a guy as Stevenson is, he is still walking off the after effects of that contact.
Yeah, you have a little bit of padding on that front foot with, looks like a shin guard there, but I think that got him right off the toe because some of that padding extends down over part of his foot, and the fact that he's still limping tells me that the foul ball missed all of the padding.
Stevenson takes a full lap around the batter's box. He's given the professional courtesy to get himself back and ready to go. And as the Tar Heel fans cheer on the second-year player out of Wake Forest, he'll step back in for the left side again, waiting a 3-2 pitch from Volchko with 1 down and nobody on. 0-0 our score in the home half of the first inning in Chapel Hill. Volchko sets to fire. And Stevenson looks at strike 3 on the outer half. I don't think there's any question that was over the plate. And Stevenson walks gingerly back into the dugout as Gavin Gallagher approaches from the on-deck circle, the first righty to face Volchko, who's punched out 2 looking.
I think Stevenson just got frozen on that last pitch, just looking for something different and didn't get what he wanted, and bat never left his shoulder.
So after Houck retired the Cardinal 1-2-3 in the first, Volchko tries to do the same in the bottom of 1. Gallagher providing the resistance for Carolina from the right side, hitting .276. First pitch. Swing and a miss. There's the slider tailing away from Gallagher. 0-1 to the product out of Apex. Hit .314 as a freshman with 8 homers and 38 RBIs. To this point in the season, he's gone deep once and driven in 13. The 0-1. Gallagher swings and lines the fastball over to the short. Becerra reaches up and snags it. And that's inning over on the line out by Gallagher. So 2 strikeouts for Volchko. The Tar Heels failed to get anybody on, and we go to the second. No score from Boshamer Stadium. This is Carolina baseball. Home runs are presented by Lowe's Foods, supporting home plate since 1954. Visit your local Lowe's Foods to find a different type of grocery store worthy of their Carolina roots. Tar Heels hit a season-best 4 homers in yesterday's game en route to the 11-1 win, evening this 3-game set with Stanford. No offense to speak of through an inning. Both teams set down 1-2-3. And in a weird way, Ben, with our score 0-0 into the second, pitching seems like it's gotten better day over day. It's usually the reverse of that when you get into these weekend series.
Yeah, pitching on Friday, after we expected really a pitcher's duel between two of the best in the nation in Jason DeCaro and Matt Scott, wasn't up to the standard that both of those guys had set earlier on in the season. Yesterday, Jake Knapp was phenomenal for Carolina. Christian Lim got hit around a little bit for the Cardinal, and today it looks like both guys have finally settled in.
Charlie saw him to lead things off for Stanford, hitting cleanup from the right side. Houck delivers. A fastball wide, 1-0 to Psalm. Stanford senior hits just .231. He's hit 2 home runs and driven in 8. 1 for 7 in the series is Psalm. The 1-0. Good off-speed pitch by Houck. Runs over the inner half. A ball and a strike to the Stanford backstop. He dons those high crimson socks. Another big color rush downstairs on Bryson Field today. The 1-1. Back to the fastball. Paints the black on the inside corner. Psalm finds himself down in the count 1-2.
Great uniform matchup today.
Houck's 1-2. Fastball right down Franklin Street, and he freezes Psalm. Strike 3. First strikeout of the game for Houck, his 22nd on the season, up against just 5 walks. And there's one down in the top half of the second. Our score remains Stanford 0, Carolina 0. Jimmy Nadine to the plate for head coach David Esker. Nadine, veteran second baseman. It's .286 and clocks the first pitch foul to fall behind 0-1. A couple of home runs, 12 RBIs. Homered in game 1. Went 0 for 2 yesterday. Tough day at the plate for most of the Stanford Cardinals. Just 4 hits over the course of the 7 innings that we played before the Heels went on to win 11-1. The 0-1 fastball pops outside. It's a 1-1 count to the Aussie. Nadine grew up in Sydney. Moved to Atlanta later in life. That's where he picked up baseball, but also a talented rugby player, basketball player, and ran some track and field. Houck goes to the changeup, and a swing and a miss makes it 1-2. Nadine behind in the count with 1 down and the bases clear in the second. No score between 2 of the best that have ever done it in college baseball. Next pitch. Swing and a miss. Houck gets his man, and that's consecutive Ks for the kid from Zebulon.
Houck's just trying to match Volchko here. Back-to-back Ks for Volchko in the bottom of the first. Now Houck is able to do it for Carolina. And boy, this pitching stability feels nice for the Tar Heels, especially after Friday night.
Brady Reynolds next up to the plate from the left side. Houck serves up a ball off the plate, 1-0. Big count to Reynolds.
It's important, too, to remember that Carolina only had to use 1 pitcher yesterday in Jake Knapp, and of the guys used on Friday, no one threw too many.
Houck pushes another pitch by a Stanford hitter. Count to Reynolds, 1 ball and 1 strike.
Big thing for Aiden Houck coming into this year was gaining his command. He's got all of the pitches, but if he can locate them.
1-1. Hit hard to deep left field. It's to the track. Hargett sets up out of the sunlight, and the catch made for out number 3. So after a pair of strikeouts, Reynolds gave the ball a ride. Hargett up to the task to bring it down out of the sky, and it's a second consecutive 1-2-3 frame for Stanford at the plate. The Tar Heels return to hit in the home half of the second with Stokely, Bass, and Madera. No score from Chapel Hill. This is Carolina baseball. If you need to refresh your Carolina gear, visit the new off-campus Tar Heel team store located at 120 East Franklin Street. Mention the code Carolina Baseball and receive 10% off your purchase. Exclusions apply. With Ben Mihalovich, I'm Dave Nathan. We are in Chapel Hill for Carolina Baseball. Stanford the opponent for the third consecutive day. As we're looking for a series winner, the Cardinal prevailed on Friday night 13-9. The Heels bounced back and won 11-1 yesterday in 7 innings. Today, going into the home half of the second, 0-0. On a sunny day with a little bit of a breeze, kicking up the flags in center towards left field as Hunter Stokely stands in to get his first glimpse of Joey Volchko. The righty sets to fire, and Stokely can't touch the 96-mile-per-hour heat. 0-1 to Stokely.
This is what Volchko can do if he's on. His ERA is high this year because he got rocked against Cal State Fullerton. Credit to the Fullerton bats for being able to catch up to Volchko.
The 0-1. Swing and a miss. No balls and 2 strikes. Stokely poked a home run out of here the other way over the left center field fence yesterday. That was his 5th homer on the season. He's got a team best 20 RBIs, and the average has popped up to 426. He's down in the count 0-2 as Volchko delivers. And Stokely knocks that probably right on top of my car off to the left side. It's 0-2.
You want to go check on it, Dave? I'll take over.
You know, as early as we get here, we often get a pretty good pick of where we want to park, and I am always trying to get as far away from here as possible, tucked behind a bigger vehicle. The 0-2. Stokely hits that back through the middle. It goes over second base, eats up Becerra, the shortstop. His throw to first, not in time, and Stokely legs out a wild piece of contact. Looked like it went through the 5-hole of Volchko on the mound, and when it approached second base, took a weird hop. Becerra couldn't field it cleanly, and Carolina's got a base runner.
Let's see if that's ruled an error or a hit. Stokely hit the ball hard up the middle, so I think it should be a hit. As someone who is anti-shift, if you hit the ball hard up the middle like that, you should have a hit.
Becerra's only committed 3 errors on the season.
Make it a 4th.
The scoreboard shows an error. We're still waiting on the official scorekeeper to let us know. Regardless, Stokely at first for Tyson Bass. The righty takes a slider outside, 1-0. Sasaki holds the runner Stokely. Not much of a threat to take off. Hunter, one of 2 players in the starting lineup yet to attempt to steal.
Official scorer has it as an error.
The 1-0. Bass, solid contact, grounds to Becerra. This time, fields it cleanly, underhands to Nadai covering second base, and the throw to Sasaki at first finishes off the 6-4-3 double play ball. That's the 15th double play Stanford has turned this season, tops in the ACC, and among the top 20 teams in the country at turning 2.
Again, another hard ground ball by Tyson Bass, just right at a guy. Carolina a little unlucky here in the bottom of the second.
All of a sudden, the base paths clear, 2 down for Madera in a 0-0 game. Right center field is wide open for Amat if he can pull one into the gap. First pitch drops low, and the fastball makes it 1-0. The center fielder, Bates, pulled around almost into left center, in between where the pitch clock rests on one of the light supports and the straightaway 400 sign. The 1-0. Madera, 2 hops to second base. Nadai over to first, and Madera set down 4-3. And the Heels go quickly and quietly in the second after Stokely reaches on an air. Bass hits into a double play. Madera grounds out, and we've got 2 innings in the books. No score between Stanford and Carolina. This is Tar Heel baseball.
Let's check out the video board.
On to the third. Still looking for runs on a sunny Sunday in Chapel Hill. Stanford the opponent as the Cardinal come to hit with the bottom third of the order due up. Becerra, Hott, and Bates. Becerra, leading protagonist in the field back in the bottom half of the second, committing an error on Stokely's ground ball, but beginning the 6-4-3 double play that Bass hit into a hitter later as he takes a strike to fall behind 0-1. Becerra hitting a sizzling 365. Takes a changeup over the inside corner. No balls and 2 strikes, the count to the native of Clovis, California. The 0-2 from Houck. Launched that into the dirt just in front of the plate. 1 ball and 2 strikes to the Stanford shortstop. It's hit safely in both games. 3 for 7 in the series with a double, 2 runs scored, and an RBI. The 1-2, check this swing. Did he go? Yes, sir. Appeal down to first base, and Chris Ward punches out Becerra for the first out of the inning, and the 3rd strikeout for Aiden Houck.
And he's just become a strikeout machine here recently, has Aiden Houck. This is what happens when he's able to mix his pitches well and hit his spots. Even though the pitch is thrown in the dirt, that's still a good spot on a 1-2 count. Will induce chases, and it's unhittable if it's in the dirt.
Here's Hott from the right side, tries to put a bunt down, instead fouls it off. 0-1 to the righty, who starts in left field today for the 2nd consecutive game. And Ben, to get back to your point about how hot Houck has been, 18 strikeouts up against 4 walks in his last 2 starts. If you include today, he's got 23 strikeouts against 4 walks in his last 3 appearances, as the count to Hott moves to 1-1. No score, 1 away in the 3rd. Stanford at the plate. Houck's next pitch lifted up towards left, tailing into foul territory. Hargett crosses over the line, makes the catch on the warning surface, clear the brickwork, and there's 2 outs. And how about Hargett? For the issues he had in the outfield on Friday, he looks like a big league player back there today.
Yeah, I think all that had to happen was the lights had to be turned off and the sun had to come out. But that's something Hargett will have to work on, is practicing under the lights and being able to track fly balls under the lights. He clearly has the ability to do it without the lights and when he sees the ball.
Next up is Bates, the lefty, hitting out of the 9-hole. Looks at a strike from Houck, and it's 0-1. Just so many different things that go into learning to play left field. Coach Forbes talked about which shoulder you want to open up and where you want to go when there's contact. It's certainly not as easy as it looks, as Bates flips the 0-1 pitch foul to fall behind 0-2.
This has just been the big thing for Houck, is not only throwing strikes, but getting ahead in the count, setting up here whichever pitch he wants.
0-2. Went off speed and barely missed the outside corner. Ben, you go back to the 1st inning, that feels like that's a strike to the lefty, but here in the 3rd, it's ball 1 and Bates stays alive.
That's a smart location from Houck. It's been called a strike there, just not that time.
1-2. That's wide. 2 balls and 2 strikes to Bates, Stanford starting center fielder. Last player to face Houck in Coach Esker's Sunday lineup. The 2-2. Houck gives him a pitch that he can just roll over the top of. Ground ball over to second base. Vanderbrake makes quick work of it and throws to Stokely. And that is inning over. 3 consecutive 1-2-3 frames for Aiden Houck and the Tar Heels in the field. Stanford has Becerra strikeout, Hott flies out, and it's Bates grounding out. The Heels to hit in the bottom half of the 3rd. Still looking for runs on a Sunday. It's 0-0, and this is Carolina baseball. Dave Nathan and Ben Mihaljevic saying hello from sunny Chapel Hill. It's a Sunday afternoon in Stanford, the opponent of number 4 Carolina. No score between these 2 proud programs into the home half of the 3rd, and it's Jackson Vanderbrake. Lead off from the right side against Volchko, who's faced the minimum so far. After Stokely reached on an error leading off the 2nd, he was cut down on a 6-4-3 double play ball. Vanderbrake awaits the first pitch from the big righty. Above the letters on the fastball. 1-0 to Vandy, who has been a hot Tar Heel as of late. Last 5 games hitting .563 with 9 hits. The 1-0. Takes that over the heart of the plate. 1-1 as the curveball demonstrated by Volchko. In that same swath of time, Ben, he's walked 6 times. He scored 5 runs. He's had 2 doubles. Vandenbrake has done it all. The 1-1. Pitch clipped the outside corner. It's 1-2. Volchko, I would say, has about as live an arm as Carolina's seen maybe since Chase Burns of Wake Forest last year.
Yeah, the other one I can think of is Drew Beam from Tennessee in the College World Series. Beam was firing in Omaha.
The 1-2. Pitch up and in. 2 balls and 2 strikes to Vandenbrake, leading off the 3rd for Carolina. Heels jumped out early on Stanford in both games. Stanford, though, answered with the score tight into the middle innings. Both teams have had success intermittently as we played on here over the course of the weekend, as another ball lands low and Vandenbrake to see a payoff pitch. Stanford had a 6-run 5th on Friday to propel them to the 4-run win. The Tar Heels, meanwhile, had a 4-run 4th on Saturday. The 3-2. Vandenbrake swings and grounds to Becerra at shortstop. Easy play as Timo rips a throw across the diamond to Sasaki. And Vandenbrake retired 6-3 for the first out of the inning. That brings the DH McCadden Dye to the plate. He started both games. I beg your pardon, he started yesterday in this spot. Angelo was the starting DH on Friday, but Dye laid down a sac bunt in the 4th yesterday, then hit his first career Tar Heel homer in the 7th, so he's back in the lineup. First pitch fastball lands low. A ball and no strikes to the native of Virginia Beach. Barely a breeze, tussling the flags in center on a clear sunny day in Chapel Hill. The 1-0. More heat outside, 2-0 to Dye.
Carolina's going to have to be patient today with the way Volchko is dealing. Really grind out at bats and try and drive up his pitch count, which is now at 30.
The 2-0. Skips a fastball in the dirt outside. 3-0 to Dye. So for all the theatrics he had yesterday, his average sits at 200. 3 for his first 15 as a Tar Heel with 3 RBIs. Remember, he hit 365 last year as a freshman at Liberty. The 3-0, low and away, and Dye takes a free base on the first walk issued by Volchko. That's the 10th free pass offered up by Volchko. And Carolina has its 2nd base runner as Perry Hargett moves to hit from the right side.
Let's see if Carolina tries to employ a little bit of small ball here. Base runners have been very hard to come by. Carolina has yet to get a man into scoring position. Can Hargett advance Dye to get to the top of the order?
It's an all-righty affair on Bryson Field between Volchko and Hargett. The pitch. Outer half fastball for a strike taken by Hargett, 0-1. Perry's hitting .321. 2 homers, 12 RBIs. Those 2 long balls came in his debut and then the next game. Next pitch sinks low, and it's a 1-1 count to the Tar Heel from out of Anson County. Only base runner is Dye, who leads off of first. Sasaki holds him. Infield at regular depth. The 1-1. Right down the middle. And the slider makes it 1-2.
Hargett winced after that pitch. He wanted it, but couldn't pick up the slider. How impressive is it to see a 90-mile-an-hour slider here?
Well, that's the thing. You see these numbers on the radar gun, you don't think they're right. A 1-2, swing and a miss as he goes back to the slider. And down goes Hargett. Strikeout victim number 3 on the afternoon for Volchko, who's punched out 16 on the season. And with 2 down in the 3rd, a runner at first, no score. Here comes Kane Kepley to the plate for the first time. A backwards K victim when he last hit in the 1st. Volchko comes set from out of the stretch. Deals to the lefty. Low and inside. Good play by Salm behind the plate to backhand that and then look the runner back over to first. A ball and no strikes, the count to Kepley. Nothing in the third, 2 away. Dye took a walk over at first base. Carolina pounded out 12 hits yesterday in just 7 innings. Next pitch, fouled away at the plate. It's 1-1. Now that earlier error that was charged to Stokely has been changed to a hit. So we'll try to fix that to the best of our ability. And tell you the Tar Heels have no runs, 1 hit, and no errors. Stanford, no runs, no hits, and no errors. The 1-1. Lands outside. 2 balls and a strike to Kepley. Good showing of Carolina fans here at the ballpark. After better than 3,300 here yesterday and just over 3,000 saw game 1 on Friday. The 2-1. Kepley turns and whisks it foul on the ground towards the Stanford dugout. Coach Esker gets to the loose change and sends the ball back towards the Heels residence. It's a 2-ball, 2-strike count to Kepley. Dye leads off the bag at first. The second baseman, Nadai, shuffles back on the outfield grass in right center. The pitch. Curveball got away from him. High and away from Kepley. 3-2. Feels like we're in this situation once before with these two.
Yeah, really. This is a much bigger situation because if Kepley gets on, Stevenson, the best bat in this lineup, is on deck.
Sasaki plays behind the runner at first with the count 3-2. 2 down in the third. Big pitch on the way. Kepley bounces it towards Sasaki at first. It takes a couple of hops on the dirt. And the freshman steps on the bag, 3 unassisted to end the Tar Heels' half of the 3rd inning. So no runs, no hits, no errors, and 1 left stranded. 3 innings complete from Chapel Hill. Still no score between the Cardinal and Tar Heels. This is Carolina baseball. Who face the Stanford Cardinal this afternoon in Boshamer Stadium. We're still looking for runs entering the 4th. Aiden Houck so far has needed just 37 pitches to get through the first 3 frames. His counterpart, Joey Volchko, 44 pitches to get through the Tar Heel lineup so far. And as we start the middle innings, here's the top of the Stanford order. Trevor Haskins 0 for 1 with a ground out to Gallagher at third. The pitch to the righty, shows bunt, takes a strike on the outside corner. It's an 0-1 count to Haskins.
Stanford's shown bunt now a couple times. I think Hott did it back in the 3rd, and looks like the Cardinals just trying to do anything to break up Houck's rhythm.
The 0-1 lifted gently to right. Bass backpedals and makes the catch just in front of his left clavicle. 1 down in the 4th as Haskins heads back to the dugout, and Larson, who flied out to Hargan in the 1st, next up in the Stanford order. Larson 2 for 9 in the series. Takes the first pitch fastball outside, 1-0, but he put his fingerprints all over Friday's game with a grand slam and a career best 6 RBIs in the Stanford 13-9 W. The 1-0. Fastball rockets low. 2-0 to Larson. Grew up just outside of Sacramento, a little town called Rockland, about 20 miles away from the state capital. The 2-0 goes off speed and tickles the outside corner to make it a 2-1 count on the called strike. Larson's career began in Southern California at UC San Diego. It was all Big West second team 2 years ago before making the move to Stanford in 2024. Out goes off speed and induces a swing and miss to level the count at 2-2. And Aiden is as cool as you like on the mound for Carolina.
Yeah, he's totally fooling the Stanford batters. That was just a wave from Larson. He had no idea what was coming.
This is the 2-2. outside 3-2 as Houck goes deeper into the count. With one away and the base is clear in the top of the fourth. Stanford nothing, Carolina nothing. Haskins flied out to right to begin the inning. Here's the payoff pitch. Houck got Larson to tip it foul, and will do it again with Sasaki waiting to hit next in the on-deck circle. Carolina plays Larson straight up in the infield, deep in the outfield. Houck shakes off the first sign. Has something that he likes. Here comes the 3-2. Fastball slowly rolled to the right side. Stokely scoops it up, throws to Aiden covering first base. And that's how you field your position. Larson grounds out, and that's 2 away. It's one thing to heave all these 90-mile-per-hour fastballs. It's another thing to hustle off the mound and make the correct play, which Houck just did.
It's an underrated part of a pitcher's ability. A lot of pitchers can throw the ball over the plate, can hit spots, but can you also field your position well and help make plays defensively? And Aiden Houck shows he can do that.
Sasaki stands in from the left side. Takes a heater in tight for a ball, 1-0. He's having a conversation with somebody that's been around the block about pitchers who can field their position, and two of the best that have done it here at Carolina, Zach Gallen, Kent Emanuel. As a strike sent to Sasaki to make it 1-1, and of course, those two have gone on to have pretty good pro careers. Gallen up in the bigs for a while now, one of the best in baseball, as Sasaki checks his swing. On a changeup, it's a 1-2 count to the freshman, who looks for answers towards the Stanford dugout with 2 down and the bases clear in the fourth. No score between the Heels and Cardinal.
Yeah, the way this game's going, he's not going to find many answers in that dugout.
A 1-2. Bounced in the dirt in front of the plate. 2-2 to Sasaki, as that pronounced shift has Stokely on the outfield grass near the line at first base. Vandenbrink can almost reach out and touch Stokely, playing second in shallow right center. Madera also on the first base side of the infield. Next pitch off speed, and Sasaki just stares at strike 3. Goodness gracious, Aiden Houck, have a day, young fella.
Just an absolute clinic right now from Aiden Houck in mixing pitches and hitting spots. You don't need to overpower guys with your fastball every time. If you hit the right location, it'll do the job just fine.
Haskins flies out, Larson grounds out, and Sasaki strikes out looking. The Tar Heels come to hit in the home half of the fourth with Stevenson, Gallagher, and Stokely. It's the 2, 3, and 4 hitters in a scoreless game. This is Carolina baseball. Between Stanford and Carolina. Dave Nathan and Ben Mihaljevic saying hello from Chapel Hill and Boshemer Stadium as we wrap up the weekend looking for a series winner. Stanford won 13-9 on Friday. The Heels took an 11-1 decision yesterday. Again, nothing into the middle innings as Volchko fires the first pitch to Stevenson, who wraps it foul a couple of times on the ground towards the first base coach's box. 0-1 to Stevenson, and as Coach Jackson gets to the loose baseball. Coach Jackson has a twin brother that's in town this weekend, and for the life of me, I can never tell those two apart.
How do we know it's not his twin down there at first right now?
Ball 1 inside to make it 1-1.
Gosh, if you don't know the difference, Dave, I mean, could be anyone over there.
It's crazy. Anytime Coach Jackson's brother says hello to somebody, he says, "Hi, I'm Coach Jackson's brother," and you do a double take, and you say, "There's 2 of you." The 1-1. Hot shot past the shift into right field. Stevenson's got Carolina's first base hit of the inning. Second hit of the game for Carolina. Third straight inning with a base runner. And as the ball overshoots second base, Stanford has to scurry to get to it to keep Stevenson at first. The Tar Heels get the leadoff man aboard for the second time today.
I'm not sure what the point of shifting Stevenson is anymore, because he's just going to beat the shift by hitting the ball really hard to the right side. It doesn't matter where guys are. He'll whiz it right by your ear or loft it just over your head.
And Stanford's only hope to claim some of those hits by Stevenson yesterday was to position the outfield in Karen Shelton Stadium. So with Luke at first, held by Sasaki, here's Gallagher, who lined out to short to end the first. We're in the fourth, no score. First pitch, look out. Gallagher bends away from a mid-90s fastball. It's 1-0 as he looks down the third baseline to Coach Forbes, who had some pretty good seats last night for the basketball game. Back in his Carolina baseball uniform today. The 1-0. Lashed foul right side, 1-1. And how about the showing of Carolina dignitaries in the Smith Center last night, whether you're talking Carolina baseball, basketball, football, you name it. It was a who's who collection of Carolina people.
That's one of the most fun parts about the Carolina Duke basketball game, is just seeing everybody who comes back to town for the game to watch the Tar Heels cheer them on.
The 1-1 to Gallagher. Low and outside. 2 balls and a strike after Stevenson shot a single into right field. He's at first with nobody down in the 4th. Pitcher's duel for the time being between the Cardinal and Tar Heels. And there's a violation on the eye contact engagement rule. Volchko didn't set up properly, and the count moves more in favor of Gallagher here, 2-1.
Coach Forbes has talked about the Tar Heels practicing the eye engagement, trying to take advantage of the rule.
Stevenson leads off the bag at first with Volchko out of the stretch. Bouncing ball goes off his mound, or off his glove on the mound. A quick underhand toss to first base gets Gallagher. Stevenson gets down to second base. Sasaki and Volchko slap a low 5. They get 1 out, but Carolina's got a runner in scoring position for the first time. And the hottest heel of them all, Hunter Stokely, next up at the plate.
How important is being able to field your position? I know that's a tough play for Volchko, but if he squeezes the ball when it's in his glove the first time, it's probably a Stanford double play and the bases are empty. Instead, Carolina has a man in scoring position and maybe the team's best or most powerful hitter at the plate.
Stokely, a big lefty, 1 for 1 with a single. Swings at the first pitch, and that's a miss on the curveball, 0-1. Stokely had his career best 12-game hit streak come to an end on Friday, but he has picked up in no time, hitting safely in his last 2 since then. The 0-1. Downstairs, Psalm knocks it down in the right-handed batter's box. 1-1 to the Heels' first baseman with Stevenson over at second base. 0-0 in the bottom half of the 4th as the wind again blows intermittently towards left field.
The way Volchko has been trying to go outside to lefty batters, it gives Stokely an opportunity to knock a base hit the other way because of the shift.
The 1-1. Stokely swings over the top of the slider. 1-2. Volchko's K'd 3 through 3 1/3. Houck, meanwhile, 4 strikeouts through 4 for Carolina. Stevenson with a good lead off the second. The shortstop plays behind the base. Volchko deals, and Stokely goes down, swinging strike 3 on a low fastball. That's 2 outs. It's up to Bass to make it happen. If not, we go to the 5th, still scoreless. Bass hit into the 6-4-3 double play in the 2nd, the last time he was at the plate to face off against Volchko. He's run hot and cold this weekend, 2 for 5 with 2 runs and an RBI in game 1. Suffered through an 0 for 4 spell yesterday. Didn't get the ball out of the infield, struck out twice. It's an all-righty matchup between Volchko and Bass. Fastball sails down and away, 1-0. Bass has also hit into 2 double plays this weekend. The 1-0. Bounce foul behind third base. 1-1 to Bass. Madera in the on-deck circle if the inning continues. If not, Stanford's got Psalm, Nadai, and Reynolds due up in the 5th. 0-0 in the 4th. 2 down, Stevenson, the Heels' only base runner at second. Volchko gives him a look before the pitch, and Bass taps a little grounder back up through the middle. Backhanded by the second baseman. Throw to first base in time. and gets Bass with the shift. Nadai played it perfectly, and Stanford playing the percentages, then gets out of the inning.
Good play by Sasaki, too, at first base to make the pick out of the dirt. But you play the percentages normally don't lie, and Stanford gets out of the inning.
Scoreless baseball through 4 in Chapel Hill. Stanford at the plate when we come back in the 5th. This is Carolina baseball. On to the top of the 5th. No score between the Heels and Cardinals. Stanford at the plate with Charlie Salm, who's 0 for 1 with a backwards K. Right-handed hitter leads off batting cleanup in today's order. Then it's Jimmy Nadai and Brady Reynolds. Houck's initial offering, a strike framed well by Stevenson on the outside corner. 0-1 the count to Salm. Houck ready to fire the 0-1. Ball belted high and deep to left. Hargett giving chase. Looks up, and there it goes. Gone. Salm sails the fence for the 3rd time this year. And the scoring opens up on a solo shot by Stanford to begin the 5th.
This game felt like it was one of those where one team was just waiting for the other to make the first mistake. Aiden Houck just made the first mistake, left a 93-mile-an-hour fastball right over the middle of the plate, and Salm didn't miss. He launched it over the netting in left field, and Stanford takes the lead.
4th home run of the weekend for Stanford. The Cardinal have hit at least 1 in all 3 games, but like the one they got yesterday, it's a leadoff homer, so little damage done as it reads 1-0 Stanford. Pitch to Nadai. Low and outside, 1-0 to the second baseman, who was the second strikeout victim of Houck in the 2nd. We're in the top of the 5th. The 1-0 bounces in front of the plate. 2-0 to Nadai. Had an 11-game hit streak snapped on Sunday last week against Xavier. Nadai had RBIs in 6 consecutive games before going 0 for 2 yesterday. The 2-0. Another good piece of framing by Stevenson. Strike on the outer half. 2-1 to Nadai. Houck set to send the 2-1. Chopped foul behind third base up against the brick wall. 2 balls and 2 strikes to Nadai. Reynolds in the on-deck circle as Stanford has just vaulted out in front of Carolina 1-0 on Salm's leadoff homer in the top half of the 5th. That's Stanford's 19th homer on the season. They enter play today 6th in the ACC in that category. The 2-2, well struck on a line towards left. Hargett racing into left center, makes the catch hip high, where the shadows extend off the wall into the outfield grass. There's 1 down. Hargett continues to sparkle in the outfield.
Yeah, he had to be on his horse to go make a play, had to take the exact perfect route, and got there just in time. That ball was flying through the outfield.
The aforementioned Reynolds at the plate in the left-handed batter's box. 0 for 1 of the flyout to Hargett. The pitch, big breaker, stays away. A ball and no strikes to Reynolds. On the subject of streaks, he had a 6-game hit streak snapped on Saturday. He was 0 for 3. The 1-0. Check the swing, and that checks in as a strike. 1-1 to Reynolds. 2 for 4 with 3 runs scored in game 1. 0 for 3 yesterday with a couple of strikeouts. Count moves to 2-1 on a ball, and Reynolds back out in front of Houck. Next offering from the Carolina righty. Up and away, 3-1.
Houck starting to lose that control just a little bit, not following through on his pitches.
The 3-1. Ball had some movement as the slider nicked foul. 3 balls and 2 strikes. It was off the cap of the bat towards the Heels on deck circle. Greg Charles dusts off the plate. Reynolds stands back in from the left side, awaiting the payoff pitch from Aiden Houck. Here it comes. And there goes Reynolds down to first on a fastball inside. Didn't miss by much. First walk of the ball game for Houck, and just the 6th on the season, and better than 19 innings of work. That'll set the table for Becerra, who struck out when he led off the 3rd. We're in the 5th. Stanford 1, Carolina nothing. 1 out, 1 on. Out to the stretch. Whips a throw over to first base, and Reynolds back in plenty of time. This is not a Stanford team that's gifted on the base paths. Just 2 of 8 in steals this season. That's last in the ACC and hovering around 280th in the country. Pitch to the plate. Lands low and away, 1-0.
At a certain point, that number is going to come back to haunt Stanford. To win big games and go far in May and June, you have to be able to take an extra bag here or there.
Bates is the only Cardinal that's got a stolen base this year. He's 2 for 3. Your runner on base, who just dove back over with the throw by Houck. Reynolds 0 for 1. Somehow Nadi 0 for 3. The 1-0. Bunt shown, pitch out. Stevenson fakes a throw back over to first. 2-0. Could turnabout be fair play here for the Tar Heels in the field after Stanford has turned double plays time and again throughout the weekend. 2-0. Runner takes off, ball bounces past Gallagher and gets into left field. That sends Reynolds screaming around second into third. And Becerra at first base. Ball, no doubt, took a tricky hop. I'd be willing to bet Gallagher would tell you after the game he should have gotten his glove on that. But as it stands, 1st and 3rd for the Cardinal. Up a run, 1-0 in the 5th. And a chance to add on more as Ethan Hott due up next at the dish.
It's a tricky spot there for Gallagher because the ball bounced just a little in front of him, but not close enough to his glove where he could scoop it out of the dirt. Instead of attacking the hop, he let the hop attack him, and the ball wound up in left field. Now Stanford has 2 guys on.
Scored an error. 3rd of the season for Gallagher. And it brings Coach Gaines out of the dugout to discuss things with Houck. And I'm going to tell you, Coach Gaines is a big, tall guy. And he's got to look up to see into the eyes of Houck, who's got a commanding presence out there on the bump. 6'6", 229-pounder. 2nd year in the Carolina program after playing at Fayetteville Tech in 2022 and 2023. He set the school record for strikeouts in junior college with 81 in 2022. Carolina fortunate to find him and have him back after he was drafted last year in the 16th round by Minnesota. So the mound meeting is over. Here's Hott at the plate. Houck's pitch eludes the bunt attempt. It's called a ball, 1-0 to Hott.
See how Carolina decides to play this if Stanford does, in fact, lay down a bunt.
Runner at third base is Reynolds. Becerra, a lead off of first. Stokely holds the runner. The 1-0. Bunt again shown. Pitch outside. Stevenson does well to backhand it. 2-0. There's a fine line to walk where the hitter's willing to give himself up to score a run. If you're Houck at some point, though, you have to challenge him.
Yeah, Houck has to go at the bat and let the bunt get down, try and get an out, make a play out of this. He can't avoid the bunt and load the bases.
2-0. Off speed and right over the plate. Good pitch by Houck on the changeup. 2-1 is against Stokely. Holds the runner at first. Gallagher even with the bag at third base. Middle infield at regular depth as Stanford has a 1-0 lead on Carolina in the fifth. Runners at the corners and one away.
Carolina clearly wants to go off speed to try and beat the bunt.
Houck snaps a throw to first base. Becerra dives back in under Stokely.
If Houck can locate his off-speed pitches, the bat will likely get pulled back more times than not just because it's so hard to read. You don't want to be waving or pushing the bat at the ball.
The 2-1. Another throwback over to first has Becerra back in time.
Bunting's certainly an art. You have to catch the ball on your bat. I've seen the way it gets taught sometimes is people will use a lacrosse stick and teach you to catch the ball in a lacrosse stick. That's how you're supposed to lay down a bunt.
The 2-1. Bunt put down first base side. Houck gets to it, covering second is Vanderbrake. And the Tar Heels execute as best they can in the field, but running the bases. Reynolds scores from third, and Becerra gets to second. Hot gives himself up for an RBI, and it's 2-0 Stanford.
It's interesting that Houck went and got that ball. I wonder if Stokely had gotten to it. Was there a play at the plate?
So for the second time in 3 games, an error by Carolina in the infield comes back to haunt them. 2 down, runner at second. This is Bates from the left side. First pitch, tails inside with the slider. It's 1-0. Houck retired the first 12 that he faced before Psalm led off this inning with a homer. Nadi flied out to Hargett and left before Reynolds took a walk. Becerra reached on an error, and Hot laid down the sacrifice bunt. 1-0. Nice changeup. Bates fans, and it's 1-1.
Walker McDuffie is getting loose in the Carolina bullpen.
McDuffie hasn't appeared in the series. The Heels only needed Knapp yesterday for 7 en route to the 11-1 win. The 1-1. Tapper foul through the first base coach's box. 1 ball and 2 strikes to Bates. Again, hitting 9th. This is the guy that you think you should get. But Bates got Carolina for a double and 2 RBIs on Friday before going 0 for 2 with a pair of flyouts to Kepley in center on Saturday. Kepley shades him towards left center with the 1-2 from Houck on the way. Change up, inning over. Got him looking, and Aiden Houck gets his teammates off the field. How about that?
It was a great job by Aiden Houck, strand the runner and control the damage to the best of his ability. But we knew Carolina was going to have to score to win this game. Let's see how the Tar Heels will do chasing 2.
2 runs, the 1 hit, 1 error, 1 left on base. Stanford takes the lead, 2-0 into the bottom of the 5th. This is Carolina baseball. Middle innings. The Tar Heels, meanwhile, bring the 6, 7, and 8 hitters to the plate. Madera, Vanderbrake, and Dye. This trio a combined 0 for 2 with a walk. Volchko on the bump for Stanford. He's been dynamite through the first 4. Sends the first pitch hurtling towards the plate, and a strike call on Madera. 0-1. Alex grounded a second to end the second, a few frames back.
Volchko's longest outing this year is only 5 innings against Xavier.
Next offering looked like it might have sunk low, but it's called a strike, and it's 0-2 to Madera.
Volchko's gone 1 1/3, 3 innings, and 5 innings in 3 appearances this year. Stanford's won all 3 games, and Volchko's gotten better in each of the games.
0-2, bounce the other way towards third, in on the grass with a easy throw to first base. Haskins retires Madera 5-3, and there's 1 down in the 5th. Collectively, Stanford 6-3 when Volchko starts. He started 6 games a season ago. Took W's against Oregon State and Santa Clara en route to a 2-1 campaign, a 5.70 ERA. And there's no doubt he's upped his game a bunch year over year. Here's Vanderbrake. Looks at a slider down and away from the right side, 1-0. It's not his first trip to North Carolina either. Ben, he was a part of that USA Collegiate National team over the summer. The 1-0. Still can't find the zone, and it's 2-0. Such a good program to have in this area. It brings people from all over the country to play college baseball. Just so fortunate to have all the resources we have here in the central part of the state. The 2-0. Again, pitch looked low, but framed by Salm at the knees. 2-1 to Vanderbrake on the called strike.
You get guys like Volchko out there, and then a couple guys like Jason DeCaro, Luke Stevenson, Matty Mateus. They barely got to drive 30 minutes to get to the complex.
Coach Forbes walks down from the third base coach's box, and I'm not sure if he's having more of a conversation with Vanderbrake or more with Greg Charles. I think this is a one-sided conversation directed towards the home plate umpire.
I think you're right.
After what appeared to be a couple of dubious strike calls against Madera and now Vanderbrake.
I think a couple Tar Heels in the dugout as well were questioning those strike calls, and I think Charles said something to the Carolina dugout, maybe issued a warning.
2-1 the count to Vanderbrake. One down in the fifth, base is clear. Stanford 2, Carolina nothing. Volchko kicks and fires. Another low strike call to make it 2-2. Part of Coach Forbes' job description, protect your players, and he's doing his best to stick up for Vanderbrake. Count even. Vandy awaits the 2-2. Swing and a miss, strike 3. Pitch got away from Salm, who gets to it in foul territory. Throws on the green side of the first base in foul territory. And there are 2 down. Again, that's the new look to college baseball this year. There's the white first base on the fair side of the line. There's the green base on the foul side of the line. In a situation like that, the first baseman's got to set up on the foul side of the field to get that throw, and what it's supposed to do is limit collisions between runners and defenders. Here's Dye. Fastball low and away, and this heater is still sitting at 96 from Volchko, who's touched 97.
That's big league stuff out of Volchko.
Dye took a walk earlier. The 1-0. Settles into the zone for a strike to make it 1 ball and 1 strike. Madera and Vanderbrake both retired. Nobody on base. Stanford nursing a 2-0 lead, and on a day like today, 2 runs may be enough to get this one done. The 1-1. Slider, and it wiped out from Dye. Took a big cut, falls behind 1-2 on the strike.
You could tell Volchko is totally in a groove right now. He's hitting the spots, and even when the pitches aren't staying in the zone, he's still inducing Tar Heel swings.
The 1-2 in an all-righty affair. Bounced over towards the left side. Becerra, the shortstop, charges in, throws accurately to first, and Dye out by a full step. Inning over. Carolina has had the last 6 set down since Stevenson singled in the 4th. We played 5, and Stanford's 2-0 lead is safe into the 6th. This is Carolina baseball. Dave Nathan and Ben Mihaljevic, your official broadcasters for this afternoon's matchup between Carolina and Stanford. And the 2-run top of the 5th, the difference for Stanford in today's game as the Cardinal lead the Heels by a couple of runs. And Coach Forbes has opted to go into the pen to begin the 6th. It's brought to you by your trusted and local home repair company, Triangle Home Repair and Paint. Contact them today and get your honeydew list done now. Walker McDuffie, highly touted freshman from out of Broadway, that's Lee County, struts to the mound to see Stanford's top third of the order. Haskins, Larson, and Sasaki. Ben, this is McDuffie's 6th appearance. They've all been out of the pen. He's got a 2-0 record, a save to his credit. Opponents hitting just .053 off the youngster. His first pitch to Haskins. It's the big breaker outside, 1-0.
Houck only threw 75 pitches, but with Carolina down 2-0, I think Coach Forbes wanted a fresh arm, especially to face this Stanford lineup for the 3rd time starting here in the top of the 6th.
Make it a 1-1 count to Haskins, who's grounded out to third and flied out to right. 0 for 2 in today's game. Next pitch. That's low, and it's 2-1. Carolina fans wanting that same strike call that Stanford got the benefit of in the last half inning. Next offering, that's dialed in the zone for a called strike, and it's 2-2 to the Stanford third baseman. Haskins, not just a big-time baseball player, but played some water polo in high school. The 2-2, fans him on some high heat. And that's Walker McDuffie ringing up the first man that he faces, first out of the sixth. And for McDuffie, that is strikeout number 20 through 12 2/3. You'll take that any which way, won't you, Ben Mihalovich?
Yeah, he's just got great stuff. He's got a 94-mile-an-hour fastball, which is pretty high heat for a freshman, and a dominating slider.
Next man up to the plate, it's Larson slicing an extra base hit down the line and left, kicking around in the corner. Hargett comes up with it on the warning surface, and into second standing up is Larson with his first base hit of the game, and the first time he's reached since the 5th on Friday when he had that back-breaking grand slam.
Danger time for Carolina, unable to hit Volchko. There's no one warming in the Stanford pen, so it's Volchko's game, and the big man Sasaki at the plate with a man in scoring position.
Sasaki 0 for 2 in today's matchup with a backwards K and a pop out. He ended the first and fourth innings respectively. First pitch. Swung at and fouled off his foot. 0-1-2 Sasaki. These are two high-profile freshmen that come from totally opposite ends of the globe. Sasaki grew up in Japan, thought to be the #1 pick in the Nippon draft before coming to the States. McDuffie grew up in small-town USA and gets to pitch for his home state school. The 0-1 drops low, and it's a 1-ball-1-strike count to Sasaki.
Interesting about Sasaki is he didn't have all West Coast schools in the final list that he had narrowed it down to. Vanderbilt was among that list, along with UCLA and Cal, and of course Stanford.
1-1. Big swing and a fly ball the other way to deep left. Hargett goes up off the wall and makes the catch. Had to leave his feet. And Sasaki set down for the third time, and I don't think there's any doubt Perry Hargett has a bright future in the outfield with the way that he's been playing the last couple of days.
Absolutely, and he's only going to get better.
Larson still stuck at second, 2 down in the 6th. Here's Salm, who had the leadoff homer in the 5th the last time he was at the plate. Stanford leads 2-0 in the 6th. McDuffie, after he checks the runner, goes to that big wipeout slider. No swing, says the first base umpire Chris Ward, and it's a 1-ball, no-strike count to Salm. Now, speaking of UCLA, Salm's brother Jake played at Tulane and UCLA from 2020 to 2023. The 1-0. Off speed, swung past it, and it's 1-1. And just to go back through the numbers, Salm's brother didn't play against Carolina in that 2021 regional in Lubbock, where Texas Tech emerged and went on to the Supers. The 1-1. Slider again. 1 ball and 2 strikes. That slider's got anywhere from 16 to 20 inches of break. It doesn't sound real, but McDuffie's got the goods, and he tries to end the inning here. The 1-2 pitch from the freshman to the righty, Salm. Went back to the well. This time Salm lays off. 2 balls and 2 strikes. It looks so appetizing coming out of his right hand, but by the time it gets to the plate 60 feet later, goodness, it could be anywhere.
Yeah, and it's the batter's best guess as to where it can be, and no batter has been able to figure it out so far.
McDuffie from the stretch glances to second. The 2-2 pitch. Fastball just outside. 3 balls and 2 strikes to Psalm, and the natives getting restless here in Chapel Hill.
I think the natives recognizing that Stanford got a couple calls in the bottom of the 5th and wanting that to be reciprocated.
3-2 the count to Psalm. 2 down, a runner at second. McDuffie exhibited the slider. It's bounced foul behind third, and this battle continues with Stanford leading Carolina 2-0. In the top of the 6th, Stanford got both of its runs an inning ago. 1 earned, 1 unearned. Larson's off his second as McDuffie appears towards the plate. He's got the sign from Stevenson. The youngster comes set and delivers outside, and Stevenson for a moment lost the ball. Catches up to it outside the left-handed batter's box. Larson stays put at second, but Psalm takes a walk down to first. Just the second walk issued by Carolina today. Knapp only walked 1 yesterday. Tar Heels have been pretty judicious with those bases on balls defensively in 2025. And the ratio entering play today for Carolina, 160 strikeouts up against just 44 free passes.
That'll play for sure.
Nat-I from the right side shows a good eye and takes the ball low and away, 1-0. So that's roughly a 4-to-1 ratio. And it's done nothing but get better today. The Heels with 6 strikeouts in total up against the 1 free pass. The 1-0 slider, check the swing, and that's a strike. 1-1 to Nat-I, one of the 2 international players in Stanford's lineup this week, and of course Sasaki the other. Nat-I Pac-12 honorable mention a season ago when he hit .308. The 1-1 fastball clips the black outside corner. 1-2, so the strike zone seems to be enlarging for the moment. Does McDuffie try to take another shot at it? Does he go to that wipeout slider? Let's find out. The 1-2. Couldn't get it, and it felt like that was the same pitch in the same place, and these fans here reaching a boiling point.
It's a great spot from McDuffie. He goes on the outer corner and just cannot get the call. He's locating his pitch as well and doing what he needs to do.
Freshman resets on the mound. 2 on, 2 down. Stanford up 2 in the 6th. The 2-2 pitch. Reaches out, pokes a little flare into right field. Bass coming in, can't get to it, and now has trouble with it as 1 run comes in to score. Stanford has runners at the corners and a 3-0 lead. I don't know if the bobble by Bass affected the lead runner. Salma goes first to third. And East Carolina fans up in arms with the ball call to Nat-I before he launched an RBI single with 2 down to extend the inning.
His bat actually broke, and you don't see these BB core bats break too easily like that. The handle was all that was left in his hands after he finished his swing. The barrel went flying towards McDuffie.
Here's Coach Forbes. Made a mound visit yesterday to check on Knapp in the 6th, and Big Jake said he was just fine. Coach Forbes left him out there, and Knapp finished the game as the Heels went on to win 11-1 in 7. So I was talking with Jake and Luke after the game. I said it's so refreshing to know that sometimes the guy that's got all the answers walks out of the dugout not knowing what he's going to do until he talks to the folks that are living it out there on the field, as Greg Charles walks out to the mound. And I'm guessing this is calculated by Coach Forbes, who wanted a word with the umpire more so than the infield and his pitcher.
Yeah, I think you're right. And now it looks like he's talking to Charles. And normally Coach Forbes comes out to pull a pitcher. This seemed to be to settle his defense down, fire his team up. There's no one that we can see warming in the Carolina bullpen. We are blocked off a little bit.
So this mound meeting has descended into an argument between the home plate umpire and Coach Forbes, who's just been tossed out of the game. Don't see this very often in college baseball anymore, but Coach Forbes, he's getting his money's worth following the home plate umpire between the mound and the plate. And I think that's Jeff Gosney walking Coach Forbes back towards the dugout. We said it earlier, one of your top priorities as a head coach, protect your players and defend them at all costs. And as Coach Forbes disappears inside the dugout, he collects his things and will be our newest viewer on this broadcast coming up in short time. This is animated as Carolina's fans have been all day, and I would say they've got good reason.
You'd have to agree. Now, you'd imagine Coach Scott Jackson assumes the head coaching duties. He's the head coach over at Liberty for so many years, came over to Carolina this year.
Reynolds at the plate from the left side takes a ball downstairs. 1-0 again. Stanford 3, Carolina nothing. Psalm at third base, Nadi at first. Reynolds 0 for 1 with a walk and a run scored, and we'll see if this ejection fires up Carolina's players. The 1-0 sinks low and inside, 2-0. Carolina just 2 hits in today's game after 11 runs on 12 hits yesterday. Baseball can be a tricky sport. 2-0 the count to Reynolds. Both runners take their respective leads. The pitch. Fastball outer half, and there's a strike. 2-1.
A sarcastic cheer from the crowd.
Ben, you know about those Bronx cheers growing up in the Northeast, right? I think it's safe to say those same cheers have traveled down south. 2 balls and a strike as McDuffie sets to fire. Glancing low foul, left side, 2-2, and again the Tar Heels potentially 1 pitch away from getting out of the inning. Stanford got 2 runs in the 5th. Another run has come across here in the 6th. It's a 3-0 Cardinal lead with runners at the corners and 2 away. Reynolds at the plate. The Tar Heels have Hargett, Kepley, and Stevenson due up in the home half of the inning. McDuffie sets up on the first base side of the rubber. The 2-2 pitch, rope past first base and into right field. That scores Psalm from third to make it 4-0 Stanford. Nadi goes first to third, and another 2-out single has extended Stanford's lead.
McDuffie just not able to make these out pitches that he needs right now, and Stanford is taking advantage. It's good 2-strike hitting, staying simple and driving the baseball.
Stanford has half of its 4 base hits with 2 down. And the inning continues with Becerra at the plate, 0 for 2 with a strikeout, and he also reached on an error. The pitch shows bunt, takes a strike, and it's 0-1. In this sport, there can be some big margins decided by some little things. On Friday, it was Carolina's inability to turn a double play that opened up the floodgates for Stanford. Today, could be a couple of dubious calls by a home plate umpire that allow Stanford to go ahead as Stevenson throws down to second as the runner takes off from first. A run scores from third, and now Carolina's got Reynolds on a run down as the throw over to second base to Madera, who applies the tag, ends the inning. But Stanford, again, a team that's only stolen 2 bases all year, adds another run to its tally and leads 5-0 going into the middle of the 6th, Ben.
Yeah, this is a pretty big hole to climb out of now for Carolina with the way Volchko is pitching. He is totally locked in on the mound, seeing things right. Carolina will have to do something with the bats to try and get back in the game.
3 runs, 3 hits. 2 of those hits came with 2 outs. No errors, nobody left. Stanford takes control of today's game. It's a 5-0 Cardinal lead. This is Carolina baseball. Walker McDuffie hadn't allowed an earned run to his first 12 1/3. Stanford hits him for 3 in the top of the 6th and takes a 5-0 lead into the bottom half of the inning. Volchko with a good long rest fires a ball to Hargett, who leads off for Carolina. And we're back to business in Chapel Hill under partly cloudy skies. The 1-0. Fastball over the heart of the plate. 1-1 to Hargett, who was the third strikeout victim of Volchko in the third. Again, we're in the bottom of the sixth. Stanford 5, Carolina nothing. Volchko sends the 1-1, and Hargett directs it foul in the sky towards the Stanford bullpen, which understandably is totally empty based on how Volchko has pitched so far today. Through 5 innings, just 2 hits, 1 walk, and 5 strikeouts for the Stanford Sunday starter. The 1-2. Out over the plate. Bang, foul into the netting above the Stanford dugout. It's a 1-2 count to Hargett. Again, Coach Forbes just tossed last inning. We would presume arguing balls and strikes with home plate umpire Greg Charles. The 1-2. Inside. 2 balls and 2 strikes. The count to Hargett. He's hit safely in both games. Driven in a total of 4 runs. Had a 2 RBI double yesterday. 2 RBI single in game 1. The 2-2 pitch. Fastball well wide. A full count to Hargett. Leading off the bottom of the 6th, the Tar Heels bring Kepley and Stevenson. It's the 9, 1, and 2 hitters due up against Joey Volchko, preseason All-American, and showing why. The payoff. And that's over the inside corner, strike 3. Six strikeouts in the game for Volchko. That ties his season high. He had 6 in his last outing against Xavier. His career best is 11. That came a season ago against Santa Clara.
Volchko, I think, might have just completed that strikeout without a functioning pitch comp. It's like he just had the pitching coach run out and give him a new one to put into his hat.
So back to the top of the Carolina order, and Kane Kepley, a rare 0 for 2 performance so far with a strikeout and a ground out. Stanford shifts around to the right side. Here's the pitch. Lands a little low and away. 1-0 as the strike zone continues to expand and contract on a Sunday in Boshamer Stadium. Barely a breeze blowing the flags in center as we near 3 p.m. The 1-0. Kepley turns and laces a line drive to right. He's got speed to burn, and he's using it. Running around second base. Kepley has visions of a triple dancing in his head. He's in there. Give him 3. And the Tar Heels have a runner 90 feet from scoring. It's Kepley's 4th triple on the season, and the Tar Heels in business in the 6th.
That's something to get Carolina going here. Tar Heels needed anything from the bats just to wake up and try and claw back into this game. Maybe try and knock Volchko out of the game, as now a couple arms have gone down to the Stanford pen.
Again, with Coach Forbes, ejected Coach Jackson, moves from the first base coach's box to third, and Jesse Wiersbick comes in to occupy the first base coach's lair. Here's Stevenson, 1 for 2 with a strikeout and a single. Kepley at third, 1 down in the 6th. 5 zip Stanford. First pitch. Off speed, lands in the zone. 0-1 to Stevenson, who had one of his better days yesterday. 4 hits, the second time he's done that in his career. 3rd career multi-homer game. The 0-1. Fastball pelted low, 1 ball and 1 strike to Stevenson. Had a season best 4 RBIs. Gonna take a day for Luke to match the 8 ribbies he had last May the 12th against Louisville.
I was talking to Twin scout John Manuel before the game, said Stevenson's by far the best pro prospect on this Carolina team.
The 1-1. Down and in, 2 balls and a strike. Draft eligible sophomore, enjoy it while you have it. Luke Stevenson spent his younger years in New Jersey, moved to North Carolina in high school and became a household name last year as a freshman. The 2-1. Volchko sends it high. 3 balls and a strike to Stevenson. Gallagher next up in the on-deck circle, and as we go through the order, 3rd time, Ben, the Tar Heels have a little more intel on Volchko, who sailed through the first 5, surrendering just 2 hits. Here's the 3-1. Stevenson knocks it foul at the plate. Remember, he fouled a pitch earlier off his foot. Took a while to walk that one off, but recovered, singling to lead off the 4th. 2 innings later, we're in the 6th, and Stanford leads 5-0. You just never know, though, which way this game may swing. Pronounced shift on as time called.
Stevenson's adamant here that something was wrong with the eye contact, and he's arguing with Greg Charles that something was wrong, but I think the pitch clock's just going to reset. That's all we're going to get out of this.
You know, I'm always happy to get a Christmas card from the Carolina baseball family. I don't know if Greg Charles will be getting one this year.
Yeah, probably not.
Here's the payoff pitch from Volchko to Stevenson. That's a fastball inside. Did he go? No, on appeal down to 3rd base. That's ball 4. And Stevenson loses all the protective gear and heads down to 1st. Carolina's got runners at the corners with 1 down, and Gavin Gallagher hitting next. Just the 2nd walk issued by Volchko. He's walked as many as 4 in a game this year. That came against the Washington Huskies. And Carolina's fans have some life breathed back into them after Stanford scored 2 in the 5th and 3 in the top of the 6th. We're in the bottom of 6. Heels with their best scoring opportunity of the afternoon as the infield converges around the mound and talks shop with Volchko.
Interesting, going back to talking with John Manuel, he said he was in the Carolina batting cages before the game. He watched Stevenson and Kepley both take hacks and said Carolina's got one of the most advanced batting cages, and that the players can really see all sorts of different pitches from different pitchers. So before the game, Carolina was taking swings off of pitches that looked exactly like what Volchko is throwing today. Tar Heels just haven't really been able to put good contact on the ball until Kepley's triple, and that might be it for Volchko.
Yeah, the first mound meeting we just had was interesting because no coaches came out of the dugout. It was a player-led meeting, and as soon as the players went their opposite ways, now we've got a coach coming out of the dugout to discuss things with Volchko, who again has been dynamite through 5 1/3. 3 hits, 2 walks, 6 strikeouts. He's only needed 85 pitches to get this far. 50 have been for strikes, but that last pitch to Stevenson looks like it is his last, as Stanford makes a call to the bullpen. And it's Aiden Keenan, the 6'2" sophomore, to make an appearance. The 2nd time he's been called upon this weekend after finishing off the Tar Heels in game 1. You got the final 3 outs after the Tar Heels put up a 3 spot in the 9th. Keenan retired Angelo, Vandebrake, and Kepley to secure the 13-9 win for Stanford. But the good thing about baseball, if things don't go your way one day, you show back up at the ballpark the next. And the Heels did that yesterday, run ruling Stanford 11-1 in 7 innings. Gavin Gallagher with his 2nd walk-off heroics of the week after besting Coastal Carolina midweek 5-4 and 11 on a sac fly. Not near as much drama on Saturday for Gallagher, but he gets the job done all the same.
And what's interesting here is Keenan is normally the Stanford closer, so curious to see him coming in with 1 out in the bottom of the 6th, and maybe Stanford recognizes how important this position in the game is, where if the Cardinal can manage to get out of this unscathed, then maybe they can just go on and cruise to a victory.
Yeah, this feels like the Dalton Pence spot of last year, where Carolina felt like the biggest situation in the game could come maybe in the middle innings before you got to the 8th or the 9th. And in those situations, Dalton was the most trusted arm Carolina had, and the Tar Heels trusted him all the way to Omaha and the College World Series. So maybe Keenan wears that hat for Stanford as he comes in the 6th. With one down, Hargan struck out to begin the inning. Kepley tripled to right field, and then Stevenson took a walk. It's Gallagher and Keenan matching up, with Stanford leading 5-0. These two didn't see each other on Friday. Just the 6th all-time meeting between two of the 6 winningest programs all-time in college baseball. Stanford, 3rd most wins ever. The Tar Heels in the 6th spot. And these two have combined to go 25-4 to begin 2025. Before this series got underway, the only times they'd ever met before was in the postseason. Once in Palo Alto in a regional in 1999. Stanford won that matchup 7-4. And then in 2011, in a super here in Chapel Hill, the Tar Heels swept Stanford 5-2, 7-5. Now as conference foes. Don't know if this will be an every year thing, but it'll certainly happen a lot more often than it had.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, it's still weird to think about, and I don't know if I'll ever be able to get used to having Cal, Stanford, and SMU, even though there's no SMU baseball team in the ACC.
So after Keenan gets warm, Gallagher stands in 0 for 2 with a line out to short and a tapper back to the mound. Heels down 5-0 in the bottom of the 6th with one out, runners at 1st and 3rd. A scoring opportunity looms for the folks in Carolina blue. Keenan's first pitch, slug foul behind the plate by Gallagher. It's an 0-1 count to the sophomore from Apex.
I'm going to try and attack this matchup, get on Keenan early, make him uncomfortable.
Gallagher has
a couple runs.
Hit safely in the first 2 games of the series. He's got 3 RBIs. The 0-1 pulled the string, and there's a strike. 0-2. Wind pushing towards center. This day has gotten cloudier as it's worn on. We got started at 1:02. We're approaching 3 p.m. on a Sunday, looking for a series winner. First ACC series of the season for these two. The 0-2 upstairs, humming along at 95 miles an hour. A ball and 2 strikes to Gallagher. Kepley off at 3rd base. Stevenson leads off of 1st. Sasaki holds him. Keenan comes set from the stretch. The 1-2 just outside. 2 balls and 2 strikes.
It's a tough take for Gallagher considering where the strike zone has been today.
Keenan sets up on the 1st base side of the rubber as he gives a glance over to 3rd base before the pitch. It was running inside, and all Gallagher could do was take a half swing and direct it foul. 2-2 as Stokely runs out to collect a loose piece of equipment on the field. Hunter due up next if Carolina can continue here in the 6th with runners at 1st and 3rd and 1 down, trailing 5-0. Keenan's 2-2. Looked like a curveball, and another half swing by Gallagher. A scorched foul up against the bricks behind the line and right.
Gallagher's doing a good job adjusting mid-pitch to the off-speed. He's hunting fastball and making adjustments if he sees a breaking ball.
Here's the 2-2. Gallagher got a piece of it, stays alive. Another foul ball as our home plate umpire sends a new ball back to the mound and gets a few other new balls from the home dugout. The Tar Heels 0 for 6 today with runners on base.
Speaks to how good the pitching has been, that there just haven't been many runners on base.
Next offering, and Gallagher takes a swing and a miss on a sinker. It's a big second out for Stanford in the field, and it's up to Hunter Stokely if the Tar Heels want to continue in the bottom half of the 6th. Stokely singled in the 2nd on a play which was originally ruled an error. It was changed to a single, and then was the 4th strikeout victim of Volchko in the 4th. Stanford 5, Carolina nothing. Can the Heels get Kepley in? He's at third base. Stevenson with his hands on his knees leads off the bag at first. Keenan fires, and Stokely lobs it foul and out of play. 95-mile-per-hour heat out of the right hand of Aiden Keenan. Grew up in Morgan Hill, California, went to Live Oak High School, and he's got a live fastball. The 0-1. That was a breaker, and it befuddled Stokely into a swing and a miss. 0-2.
A couple big athletes out of Morgan Hill. Jared Allen, Hall of Famer. Rick Barry as well, the basketball player. Known for that underhand free throw.
Well, it only worked about 90% of the time.
That's it?
One of the best who've ever done it. The 0-2 to Stokely. Above the letters 1 and 2. Stanford, whenever we get to the 7th, has the bottom third of the order due up. Becerra, Hott, and Bates. If Stokely continues the bottom of the 6th, then it's Tyson Bass in the on-deck circle. It's a large pitch on the way here from Keenan to Stokely. Here it comes. Stokely bounces back to the mound. It hits Keenan in the glove, collects and underhands to first, and Stanford gets out of the jam. Carolina goes no runs on 1 hit, no errors by Stanford, 2 left on base, and the Tar Heels' best scoring opportunity of the afternoon goes by the wayside. Walker McDuffie back on the bump as we go to the 7th. 5-0, Stanford with the lead. This is Carolina baseball. On to the 7th inning with our Peanut Fact of the Game, brought to you by the Peanut Growers of North Carolina. Peanuts contain 7 grams of protein and 3 grams of fiber per serving, along with 19 other vitamins and minerals. Peanuts are locally grown, affordable, and a versatile ingredient that are great sources of plant-based protein and always a hit. NC Peanuts, proud supporter of Tar Heel baseball. Visit aboutpeanuts.com to learn more. Ben, all we need to know about this one is that Stanford got 2 runs in the 5th, 3 more in the 6th, and leads 5-0 into the 7th.
Cardinal took advantage of an opportunity. Stanford was really the first team to get momentum in this game and hasn't surrendered it so far. Just riding the wave right now and hitting strong, and pitching is doing its thing as well.
McDuffie rides that fastball towards Becerra. It's 0-1. Second pitch rattles across the inside corner, and it's an 0-2 count to the normally sure-handed shortstop who struck out and reached on an error. 2 for 9 in the series is Becerra, who takes the ball low and outside. 1 ball and 2 strikes the count. McDuffie sets to fire the 1-2. Lifted right side and foul. And bullpen for Stanford had been vacant up until about the 5th. But Volchko pulled after 5 1/3. 3 hits, no runs, 2 walks, 6 strikeouts. He's in line to get his 2nd win of the season if Stanford can make this margin stand up. Here's the 1-2 and a battle of righties on Bryson Field. Tapper back to the mound, and it's McDuffie running towards first base on the infield grass. Underhands to Stokely covering, and Becerra set down for the 3rd time today. All the pitchers that have been out there this afternoon have defended well when the ball's been hit their way, Ben.
Yeah, absolutely, and that's a change from what we saw on Friday night, where maybe a PFP trouble cost Carolina that game.
First pitch to Hott. A strike with the off-speed stuff, and it's 0-1. Hott fouled out to Hargett in the 3rd, then laid down that sacrifice bunt that scored Reynolds in the 5th. We're in the 7th, 5-0 Cardinal. Next pitch misses outside. 1 ball and 1 strike to Hott. Homered for the first time in his career yesterday. The 1-1, look out, and that is a fastball upstairs, and it plunked him in the helmet. Fortunately back up to his feet, and with his helmet in hand, heads down to first base. Everybody's okay down on the field. Certainly nothing intentional about that. Coach Esker comes out on the field to make sure that Hott's okay, and as he gets down to first base, it appears as if he'll stay in the game, but always scary when those fastballs get up above the shoulders and make contact with the headgear. Think back several years ago at Boston College when J.B. Bukauskas was on the mound for Carolina. He threw a pitch that actually broke the helmet of BC's catcher that day, and it was a tense moment until everybody got to their feet, proved to be okay, but suffice it to say, that ball's moving down there a lot faster than it appears up here.
And there's no helmets mandatory in baseball until 1971. Guys could just go in their caps.
First pitch to Bates. Ding foul, and it's 0-1. One down in the seventh. Hott at first base after being hit. And Bates 0 for 2 at the plate. Behind in the count, 0-1. Overcast skies dominating things after there were plenty of pockets of blue a couple hours ago. The 0-1 drops low. It's a 1-1 count. McDuffie, the only arm out of the pen used today by Carolina. The Heels had Knapp for the entire 7 innings yesterday, winning 11-1. The 1-1. Ball dancing all over the place. Induces a swing and miss by Bates. 1-2 the count for the freshman from out of Palo Alto. Twice a high school All-American. Big-time shortstop prospect coming out of high school, but they've moved into the outfield. The 1-2. Swing and a foul tip. Bates barely hangs in there. It remains a ball and 2 strikes.
Hott on every pitch down at first base, takes 3 or 4 hard steps towards second base as if he's stealing, and then stops abruptly. It's much different than a secondary lead you normally see a player get, where they're shuffling towards the bag.
The 1-2. Downstairs, ball 2, and again we referenced just how rarely Stanford runs coming into today's game. Just 2 for 8 in the stolen base category, dead last in the ACC and near the bottom of the numbers in college baseball. Quick throw over to first, and Hott's back over there in time. Just 7 total hits in today's game. Stanford has 4, Carolina has 3, but the Cardinal got a home run, manufactured a run with a walk, an error, and a bunt. Another walk came around to score, and that's the verdict as the runner takes off from first. Swing and a miss at the plate. At strike 3, and we might have some interference as well. We do, and that's the inning.
I was confused as to why Stevenson started walking towards the dugout. I didn't think the strikeout was the 3rd out, but he seemed to know that there was an obvious interference at home plate and just took off.
So no runs, no hits, no errors, nobody left. McDuffie gets his 2nd strikeout, and we stretch. 5-0 Stanford. This is Carolina baseball. Alongside Ben Mihaljevic, I'm Dave Nathan, welcoming you back into Boshaver Stadium on a Sunday in Chapel Hill. Stanford leads Carolina 5-0 as we go to the bottom of the 7th. The Tar Heels have Bass, Madera, and Vandenbrake due up. And after having that 1st and 3rd situation with 1 down last frame, then Carolina's got to put that behind them and worry about what they can control as the outs begin to dwindle. And Stanford closes in on its first ever ACC series win, about as far away from home as you can get against the number 4 ranked team in all of college baseball.
Stanford's got to get used to traveling all this way. Going to go to Clemson, to Raleigh to Chestnut Hill.
First pitch to Bass. Nick foul, 0-1 for the first-year Tar Heel out of Lucama. Hit into a 6-4-3 double play in the second, then grounded a second to end the fourth. Again, we are in the bottom of the seventh. Heels down 5-0. Keenan still on the mound from the stretch. Delivers low, 1 ball and 1 strike to Bass. Stanford plays the Tar Heel right-handed hitter straight up around the infield, not particularly deep in the outfield grass as the wind begins to pick up just a little bit, blowing towards left. The 1-1, Bass hunting a big knock there, comes up empty on the swing, and it's 1-2. Keenan's fastball sitting at 93. Pretty good velo, but Volchko was throwing 96, 97 for a good part of today's game. The 1-2. That's a high heater. 2-2 to Bass, and these two righties continue to battle it out.
Interesting difference between the two games yesterday and today. Yesterday, Stanford throwing strikes only about 52, 53% of the time. Today, that number's up to 61.
2-2. Slider got away from him, lands outside. 3 balls and 2 strikes, the count to Bass. Carolina, team that takes almost as many walks as anybody in the ACC. 3rd in the conference and 12th nationally coming into today's game, has only taken 2 free passes and is still sitting on 2 as the fastball runs right over the heart of the plate. Down goes Bass for the first out of the inning. Second strikeout for Keenan, and the 8th time Carolina's K'd today. That'll put Madera at the plate with 1 down and nobody on. Stanford's lead still 5-0. Vanderbrake moves to the on-deck circle. Madera from the left-handed batter's box against the righty Keenan. First pitch. Swinging a foul ball behind the plate. Rolls back into fair territory in front of the dish. 0-1 the count to Madera. Been on base 13 consecutive games, but not today. 2 ground outs. But a frustrating day for Carolina at the plate. The 0-1. Bends low, 1 ball and 1 strike to the second-year Tar Heel. Keenan comes set again, first base side of the rubber. Deals the 1-1 fastball low. 2 balls and a strike to Madera. Sasaki's got his hands on his hips over at first base near the line. The second baseman, Nadai, backs off towards the outfield cut. Becerra at short, and Haskins well off the line at third. Next pitch, bounce between first and second and into right field. Diving attempt by Nadai came up short, and Madera aboard for the 14th consecutive game, and the Tar Heels have a base runner with 1 away in the 7th for Jackson Vanderbrake.
It's all about base runners right now for Carolina, just getting guys on and getting them around the bases. The bottom of the order is going to have to come up here.
Both teams have 4 hits, but Stanford's got a 5-0 lead. Keenan's pitch to Vanderbrake. Rolls over the inner half as he starts him off backwards, 0-1. A lead off of first base for the speedy Madera. Sasaki holds the runner. The 0-1. A little high, 1 ball and 1 strike to the heel second baseman. The 1-1 in an all-righty affair. Excuse me, check swing. Ball lands in the net near the Stanford dugout. 1-2 the count to Vanderbrake. Again, hitting over .560 in his last 5 games entering play today with 9 hits. He was 2 for 5 against Coastal midweek and 4 for 6 against the Cardinal in the first 2 games. The 1-2. Stayed inside as he pulled the string. 2 balls and 2 strikes.
One thing I've noticed about Stanford is the dugout has been much more active today than yesterday. More energy on the Cardinal side of the field. Carolina just hasn't been able to match it, and that's shown in some of the at-bats too.
The 2-2 to the plate. Vandenbrake takes a long look at ball 3. Drops out of the zone, the count full. So on Friday, Stanford scored runs in 5 consecutive innings from the 2nd to the 6th. On Saturday, it was the Tar Heels getting a steady diet of runs offensively from the 3rd to the 7th. Can Carolina crack the code here? Payoff pitch, Vandenbrake pounds it into the turf over to third base. Haskins comes in on the grass to make the throw across the diamond to retire Vandenbrake. 5-3. Madera moves from first to second, but with 2 down. The burden falls on McCadden to try to get Carolina on the scoreboard. Stanford still holds a 5-0 lead into the late innings.
Carolina's got to find a way to get this run in right now, make the job a little easier in the 8th and 9th.
Dye 0 for 1 with a walk and a ground out to short. Madera leads off with second base. The pitch. Fastball, inner half for a called strike. 0-1 the count to Dye. A breeze blows across the press box behind home plate on what's turning out to be a cool day. The 0-1, smash foul over the Stanford on deck circle. 0-2 to Dye. Stanford's got the top of the order due up whenever we get to the 8th. Haskins, Larson, Sasaki. Not much production from that trio, but a balanced lineup for Stanford has done enough to lead 5-0. The 0-2. Dye swings and misses at strike 3. The fastball beats him. Keenan with his 3rd K ends the thread. Madera stranded at second base. No runs, 1 hit, no errors, and 1 left. 7 innings in the books from Chapel Hill. The Tar Heels still on the wrong end of a 5-0 score. This is Carolina baseball.
The Heels will be back on March 28th to take on the Miami Hurricanes. There were 750 fans in attendance for this week. Number 2.
Stanford leads Carolina 5-0 as we go into the 8th. Carolina goes back into its bullpen. Our calls this year sponsored by your trusted and local home repair company, Triangle Home Repair and Paint. Contact them today and get your honey-do list done now. Veteran Matthew Mateus comes out of the pen to pitch for the first time in this series. Ben, he was up and getting warm yesterday, but Carolina never went to him, and justifiably so, with Knapp going 7 strong and striking out 7, getting his 2nd win of the season. But week to week, as we get into the grind of the season, we want to keep guys active and engaged, and this is a chance for Mateus to try to hold Stanford at bay and give Carolina's bats a chance to come back in the final 2 frames.
Yeah, and in all honesty, Matty Mateus really hasn't been himself so far this year. He's gotten knocked around a little. He allowed Coastal to tie the game in the 9th during the midweek on Tuesday. This may be a chance for him to settle down with Carolina down 5 runs. If he gives up a run or 2, it probably doesn't really matter at this stage in the game, but if he does hold Stanford, the door's still slightly cracked for the Tar Heels.
Carolina facing its 2nd biggest deficit of the season after trailing Stanford by 7 runs in game 1. It's a 5-0 Stanford lead into the 8th as Haskins comes to hit against Mateus. Out of the pen for the 9th time this year. Here's his first pitch. Big over the top fastball, pops in for a strike. 0-1 to Haskins, who's grounded out, flied out, and struck out. He was 0 for 2 against Houck. McDuffie K'd him in the 6th. The First to face Mateus in the 8th. The 0-1. Beat him with another fastball. 0-2. Mateus, hard-throwing righty out of Greenville. Comes set from the third base side of the rubber and fires the 0-2 upstairs. Stayed with the fastball 1-2. Not only does he have the fastball, he's got the devastating cutter to blend with the breaking ball. The 1-2. Little poke into right field, and on a day like today, that falls for Stanford. Leadoff man Haskins aboard, and he sets the table for Larson, who's 1 for 3 with a double and a run.
It's just good hitting by Haskins. You stick the bat out and hope to put it in play, and 2 strikes, that's all you really need to do or are looking to do. And like you said, Dave, that's what's going on today for Stanford. The ball just seems to be falling.
Haskins didn't play yesterday, went 0 for 3 on Friday, but did score a couple of runs, and he drove 1 in. He's 1 for 4 today as Larson stands in from the left side. First pitch. Eludes the swing and miss of Larson. 0-1. Larson 3 for 11 this weekend against Carolina, but he has had some big knocks. The 0-1. Foul tipped into the glove of Stevenson. 0-2. The Rockland, California product by way of UC San Diego.
When Larson's swinging, his back leg is sort of sliding out from under him. That'll cause him to lose a lot of power even if he does make contact.
Mateus readies to fire the 0-2. Inside, 1 ball and 2 strikes to Larson. Wind is slowed to next to nothing. Cloud cover has overtaken the earlier blue skies. Temperatures continue to set in the 50s as the Tar Heels trail Stanford in the 8th, 5-0. There's a runner first and nobody down for the Cardinal. Mateus fresh into the game for the Diamond Heels. The 1-2. Got him swinging. Stevenson points back towards Mateus to salute the effort. And there's 1 down as Mateus K's his 18th on the season. That's up against just 2 walks. And it brings Sasaki to the plate next. Sasaki popped out to short to end the 1st, struck out looking to end the 4th, and then flying out to Hargett in the 6th. 1 out, 1 on in the 8th. Sasaki, the big, strong left-handed hitter, takes a swing and a miss. 0-1.
All of his swings are just so violent. It feels like if he ever makes contact with the ball, and when he does make contact with the ball will be screaming off the bat.
The 0-1. Another big, violent swing. Ben, as you said, cutter's moving, and it's 0-2 to Sasaki. 1 hit so far in the series, and that came on Friday when he singled in the 3rd.
He's impressed mostly with his defense this series.
He's 0 for 7 since that single, but you're right, he has played the field as well as you can. The 0-2. Low and inside to the lefty. 1 ball and 2 strikes to Sasaki. Preseason National Freshman of the Year. Has a huge following in Japan. walks around at least with a little more anonymity in Palo Alto. 1-2. High, 2 balls and 2 strikes.
One of the appeals to him going to Stanford is, even at Stanford, he's not the biggest name on campus. Get Bill Gates' kid there at Stanford, and Sasaki can't exactly hide on campus, and with his stature, there's no hiding, but he's not getting followed around, and I think he likes being able to be out of the spotlight just a little bit, even though his abilities with a baseball bat will always keep him recognized.
Quick throw over to first base, and the runner Haskins back in time. No dodging the spotlight in a moment like this. Sasaki center stage against Mateus with a runner at first and 1 down in the 8th. Stanford 5, Carolina nothing. Here's the 2-2. Sasaki clipped it at the plate, foul. Stevenson and the home plate umpire Greg Charles swap baseballs, and Mateus to serve up another one to Sasaki. Lights haven't popped on yet today at the Bosch. I wouldn't call today gloomy, but it's certainly not a sunny day either after we enjoyed some great weather yesterday. Temperatures are supposed to jump up into the 70s later this week, but Ben, you'll be with Carolina in Northern Kentucky for ACC Series number 2 beginning on Friday, extending into Saturday and Sunday. In between, the Heels go out to the coast to play UNCW at 6 o'clock on Tuesday night.
Looking forward to Friday night, especially seeing Jason DeCaro pitch against Patrick Forbes of Louisville.
DeCaro try to bounce back after his roughest outing of the season on Friday. Matthew Mateus currently on the mound for Carolina tonight. 2-2 the count to Sasaki. And he got him swinging. The cutter cuts down Sasaki. And that's the second strikeout for Mateus. Psalm next up to the plate. Mateus, even from up here, seems to have his A stuff.
Important for Carolina that he does have his A stuff right now. Tar Heels are still in this game just enough.
Psalm 1 for 2, 2 runs scored, and a homer. Mateus dials up the off-speed stuff outside. 1-0 to the righty Psalm. Injured for a good portion of 2023, only hit 190, but then hit almost 100 points better than that last year with 8 bombs and 22 driven in. The 1-0 gets away from Stevenson. Pitch was in the dirt. Down to second base goes Haskins on the wild pitch. Stanford with a runner in scoring position with 2 down and a 2-0 count to Psalm.
It's a rare mistake from Stevenson.
Here's the 2-0 in an all-righty duel. Hot shot on a hop past Gallagher into left field. Hargett relays to second, and another run scores. Haskin makes it 6-0 on a 2-out RBI single by Charlie Psalm, unless that scored an error. Third base, a tricky position to play even on your best day, and Gallagher has seen a couple of those jump right through his glove.
Yeah, it seems like Gallagher's just getting short hops hit right at him on a line every time. One thing he is not doing, though, is he's not exactly getting totally square on the ball. He's sort of leaving his body open towards second base, and that can allow the ball to sneak by him.
Back to work, Mateus fires to Nadai, who fouls it off 0-1. So Stanford again with just 6 hits in the game has gotten 3 hits with runners on base, runners in scoring position, and with 2 outs. It's been timely hitting today for Stanford that's put some distance between themselves and the Tar Heels. And that does go down as a single for Psalm. The 0-1 to Nadai. Away off the plate. 1-1. Carolina held to just 4 hits so far in today's game. Their season low is 5. It's happened on a couple of occasions. The 1-1. Low and outside. 2-1, and as Stevenson scurries to rescue the ball, he's got to step through the hitter, and time called down on the field. And after all that effort, new baseball sent out to Mateus from the home plate umpire, who retrieved Stevenson's mask for him. 6-0, Stanford got its first 2 runs in the 5th, added 3 more in the 6th. Coach Forbes was tossed during a sequence, and here we are in the 8th. Heels down a half dozen. 2-1. Mateus bounces ball 3 to put Nadi in a better spot. 3-1. Reynolds in the on-deck circle.
Feels like a couple times today, Carolina has just been so close to getting out of innings and has been unable to do it, which has led to Stanford runs.
Stokely holds the runner over at first. The 3-1. Cutter got by the swing and miss of Nadi. 3 balls and 2 strikes to count. 2 down in the top of the 8th. Stanford got a leadoff single from Haskins. He advanced to second on a wild pitch and then came in to score on Psalms. Single to left. The payoff pitch. Runner takes off. Ball lifted into shallow right. Here comes Bass. He's called off by Vanderbrake, and the second baseman makes the play that ends the inning. Stanford gets 1 run on 2 hits. No errors. 1 left on base. Cardinal take a 6-0 lead into the home half of the 8th. This is Carolina baseball. Six 0 Stanford as we go to the bottom of the 8th. And as we do, we remind you that it's that time again. Basketball camps are back, and young men will be in 6th or 7th grade during 2025-2026 school year can apply for a scholarship to their local electric cooperative to attend the UNC basketball school this June. Apply online at ncelectriccooperatives.com/sportscamps. North Carolina's electric cooperatives, building a brighter future for people and communities across the Tar Heel State. Home half of the 8th begins with Hargett at the plate. Keenan on the mound. First pitch fastball. Nails the outer half, and it's 0-1 to Hargett, who struck out twice in today's game. Volchko got him both times. And again, Volchko in line to win his 2nd game if Stanford can protect the 6-run lead. Next pitch. Must have been inside, 1-1. Stanford plays the right-handed hitting Hargett straight up on the infield. The 1-1. Barely low and outside. 2-1, the outfield. Bates, the center fielder, shades him just a hair towards right center, but not much. The 2-1. Out over the plate. Hargett couldn't touch it. That's a fastball that moves the count to 2-2 as Hargett leads off the 8th. Kepley and then Stevenson to follow. Carolina's had some success in getting guys on, just not moving them over and getting them in. 2-2. And Hargett foul tip strike 3 into the glove of Psalm for the first out of the inning. And the 4th strikeout for Keenan, who came into the game back in the 6th. Heels have K'd 10 times today.
I thought once Carolina knocked Volchko out of the game, that the change in velocity going down to about 92 miles an hour on the fastball would help the Tar Heels out a little bit, get their bats more caught up. But instead, Carolina's just been fooled all day, no matter who the pitcher is, no matter how fast they're throwing.
Kepley 1 for 3 with a triple. Hits from the left side with the Heels down 6-0 in the 8th. Bases clear, 1 away. First pitch. Lifted foul and behind the plate. It'll disappear. 0-1 the count to Kepley. That triple for Kane is 4th on the season. This is only the 16th game we played. The 0-1. Breaking ball. Settles low. 1 ball and 1 strike, the count to Kepley. Shift employed here with Haskins really your only line of defense on the dirt between 2nd and 3rd. Becerra short, playing just left of the bag at 2nd near the outfield grass. A 1-1. Kepley ropes that into the netting behind first base. 1 and 2. Almost looked like a carbon copy of the triple he had back in the 6th.
He's a really pull-heavy hitter, is Kepley.
Kepley had 2 triples against A&T, the first Tar Heel to do that since Anthony D'Onofrio last year. So in consecutive seasons, you've had first-year players lace a pair of triples in the same game. The 1-2, that's hit the other way and foul.
Coach Forbes really knows how to utilize that transfer portal. And interesting about the transfer portal is it opens up before the season ends. So I've heard from people around the program that Coach Forbes was in Omaha actively recruiting guys who are now on this roster while trying to manage the team in the College World Series.
Here's the 1-2. Kepley bashes that high and past the seats. Left side, I think that looked like it might have been over section 116 or so.
Feels a little ridiculous to me that coaches in the College World Series should have to worry about going into the portal and improving next year's roster while trying to win a national championship.
1-2, off speed and high, 2 balls and 2 strikes. You do everything right during the regular season and the postseason to get to where you can win a national championship, and essentially you're at a disadvantage because you're worrying about one thing while everybody else isn't playing.
Right.
The 2-2. Kepley bangs it foul, and the battle between these two guys, Aiden Keenan and Kane Kepley, continues with 1 away and nobody on in the bottom of the 8th. The outs slowly but surely dissipating for the Tar Heels, who trail 6-0. Next pitch, Kepley drives that foul the other way near the bullpen. Lands on the roof. Still 2-2. Carolina hasn't been shut out this year, wasn't shut out last year. Keenan looks like he shook off the first sign from Psalm. He's got something that he likes. Breaking ball, missed upstairs, 3-2. Good eye by Kepley. Brave to take that pitch, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, especially the way the strike zone's been today. That is a bold take from Kane Kepley.
Payoff pitch, pays off for Kepley. It's ball 4. And down to first he goes. First walk surrendered by Keenan. Ben, you said it yourself. Priority number 1 for Carolina, base runners, and nobody gets on base any better than Kane Kepley.
Yeah, absolutely. Now he's going to have to try and get a run himself. The bats just have not been reliable in knocking guys in today and even in moving guys around. But you do have the best part of the order in doing that up right now. Stevenson and then Gallagher and maybe Stokely if you can keep the inning alive.
Got to go back to 2023 to find the last time Carolina was shut out. Heels fell 7-0 at Virginia Tech before bouncing back to win that series. That was in late April. At the beginning of the month, in Charlotte, the Tar Heels fell 5-0 to South Carolina. And this just doesn't seem real. The last time the Heels were shut out at home, COVID wasn't yet a thing. February 23rd, 2020, Dallas Baptist shut out Carolina 3-0. So Stanford in position to do something that's not been done in quite a while, up 6-0. With 1 out and 1 on in the bottom of the 8th, here is Luke Stevenson. And after what he did yesterday, homering twice, 1 swing puts Carolina on the board, but keeps the bat on his shoulder, takes a strike, and the count begins 0-1. Luke's 1 for 2, a strikeout, a single, and a walk today. The 0-1 popped up and fouled back. He still doesn't look like he's walking around at 100% after he fouled that ball off of his foot earlier.
Yeah, I think that had to have gone off a toe or something, and he's really uncomfortable now. Just wondering, that's tricky too, because there's nothing you can really do about a toe injury. You can take all the Tylenol you want, you can ice it a little bit, but it sort of is what it is. Can't really wrap it up in a cast or anything.
Well, I'll tell you this, just about a month and a half after the Tar Heels were shut out by Dallas Baptist in April, I broke my toe, and I can tell you, there is nothing that you can do except grin and bear it. The 0-2. Upstairs, 1 and 2. It's actually how I was introduced to Zoom. I was hustling to get to a Zoom meeting with no shoes on in the house, kicked the doorway, broke the toe. It was game over for 6 to 8 weeks for this old guy. The thing that really made me mad was that the door frame didn't even show any damage. 1-2, Stevenson. Can't do damage himself as he swings past the changeup, strike 3, and that's 2 down. 5 strikeouts in the game for Keenan. Hard to believe he's 1 away from matching the 6 that Volchko had through 5 1/3.
Really good coaching job by David Esker today of Stanford, going to his closer at a time in which he thought Stanford could slam the door shut earlier in the game. And as it turns out, Keenan can go much longer than that. He's providing quality innings, and Carolina really just hasn't been able to get around on him sans the King Kepley triple.
Gallagher was the first to face Keenan back in the 6th when he struck out. Fouls off the first pitch in the bottom of the 8th to fall behind 0-1. Stanford playing from ahead 6-0. Cardinal have Reynolds, Becerra, and Hott, the 6, 7, and 8 hitters, due up in the 9th. Kepley, your only base runner for the Diamond Heels at first. Sasaki holds him. Pitch. Fastball outside. 1-1. Game got underway just after 1 o'clock. 20 until 4 if you set your clocks forward last night or this morning. It's something that always gets me. The 1-1. Took a swing at another appetizing high fastball, but couldn't touch it. 1-2 as Keenan goes to the rosin bag. Big dust plume emerges off the back of the mound as he tosses it to the ground and tries to finish off Gallagher and finish off the 8th. Keenan from the first base side of the rubber deals, and Gallagher fouls it off of somebody's face mask as it bounces towards the Stanford dugout. Still 1-2. So there'll be some more daylight for the next few months. That is music to my ears.
That means longer before the lights come on in the Bosch.
Yeah.
More sunlight.
Lights still hadn't popped on here yet. The 1-2. Off speed, lined over to second base, and again, Stanford able to read the future. Has Nadi exactly where he needs to be to end the inning.
It's just a sign of a well-coached team and a team that does its scouting report really thoroughly beforehand. Stanford knows where the ball's going to be at all times.
Heels will be down to their final 3 outs when we get to the bottom of the 9th. But first, the Cardinal hit in the top of the 9th, up 6-0. This is Carolina baseball. Into the 9th we go. Stanford 6, Carolina 0. And the Tar Heels go back to their bullpen with another call sponsored by your trusted and local home repair company. That's Triangle Home Repair and Paint. Contact them today and get your honeydew list done now. Heels go to Cameron Seagraves. 6th time he's gotten the call out of the pen, a record of 1-0. ERA sitting at 6.35. Opponents hitting .273. off the freshman righty out of Ellerby. It's the fourth arm used today for Carolina. Halk went the first 5 innings, only allowed 1 hit. McDuffie allowed 3 runs on 3 hits in 2 innings. Mateus got the Tar Heels through the 8th, surrendering a run on 2 hits. Reynolds at the plate from the left side. Big swing and a miss on a 95-mile-per-hour fastball. Just looks effortless coming out of the right hand of Seagraves. Long, lanky kid with a big-time future.
Yeah, these young studs for Carolina, Seagraves, McDuffie, and Lynch, all have overpowering fastballs.
The 0-1. Powers a 97-mile-per-hour heater. Past Reynolds, and how about that?
If there's one thing the Diamond Heels have been missing these past couple of years, it's that electric velocity, 95 plus.
The 0-2. It's 97 again, but not in the zone, high and away. 1-2 the count to Reynolds, who's flied out, walked and scored and driven in a run with a single. Stanford up 6-0 in the 9th. The 1-2. Again, outside and high. 2-2 to the leadoff man. Reynolds at the plate, Becerra to follow, then it's Ethan Hott. Seagraves with the glove in front of his face. Angles the pitch downstairs. 3-2 and a good take by Reynolds.
He's going to have that fastball. It doesn't matter how hard you throw it if you can't locate it, and then you need to be able to locate the off-speed pitch as well. If the off-speed pitch is competitive, it sets up the fastball even better.
Payoff pitch from the righty to the lefty. Grounded to second. Vandebrake on the outfield grass gets to it, shuffles over to first. Stokely lost his footing, but he maintained his foot on the bag as he goes down on his backside. That's the only big cat I've ever known to land like that. But it's 1 down, as I'm sure he gets up with a bit of a giggle.
I thought cats were always supposed to land on their feet.
Stokely has half as many legs as most of the cats I know. 1 down in the 9th. Here's Becerra, 0 for 3 in the game. First pitch directed foul, and it's 0-1. Stokely will lead off the 9th for Carolina. Then Bass and Madera. Those are the 3 that have a chance to bring the Heels back, down 6-0. Stanford at the plate in the top of the inning. Nobody on base, 1 away. The 0-1. Hits the target outer half. 0-2. Becerra struck out in the 3rd. Reached on an error in the 5th. Hit back to the mound when he led off the 7th. The 0-2. And I'll be honest, maybe it's better not to be. How that's not a strike, I couldn't tell you.
Luke Stevenson feels the same way. He sort of just dropped his head. Now he's shaking his head, wondering why that was not strike 3.
Becerra to see another pitch with the count 1-2. That's lined over to short on a hop. Madera gets to it on the backhand, throws to first base. Stokely this time keeps his balance, stays upright, and that's 2 down.
That was a good job by Madera, positioning himself correctly to make the play. He squared the ball up, realized it was coming to his backhand, got in position so that the hop, when it came, would not bounce over his glove, easily scooped it up and made a quick throw to Stokely.
It's up to Hott to keep the Cardinal at the plate in the 9th, up 6-0. Seagraves' first pitch fastball again touches 97 on the gun. Out of the zone though, 1-0. Well, do you surmise this is Keenan's game in the bottom of the 9th for Stanford?
Given the lack of activity in the Cardinal bullpen, I think it has to be.
1-0. Check the swing on a heater, and it's 1-1. Well, from what Carolina's been able to do out of the bullpen, I don't think there's any doubt there's some guys that have made some good reputations for themselves this weekend. The 1-1, foul tipped and back to the screen. 1-2. The Heels seemed to get better out of the pen as the game went on Friday. Olin Johnson, Dylan Weber, Ryan Hench combined for 3 innings and no-hit baseball, struck out 6. Only Jake Knapp pitched yesterday. Today it's been a quartet of arms. The 1-2. Down and away. A ball and 2 strikes to Hott. He's fouled out to Hargett. Drove in a run with a bunt in the 5th, and then was hit by a pitch in the 7th, but was out on that interference call with Bates at the plate, who struck out. The 2-2. It's thrashed foul. Still 2-2. This would be a big series win for Stanford. Anytime you can get a series win on the road, especially early on in the season, it can pay dividends down the line. The 2-2. Above the letters, ball 3. Meanwhile, for Carolina, certainly time to recover. There is a lot of season left with this just the first of 10 ACC series. The next one comes at Louisville. The Cards out of the ACC this weekend, taking on Illinois Chicago. Payoff pitch. That's blasted high into foul territory, third base side. And Seagraves rushes over towards the dugout along with Gallagher. Nobody can reach it. Maybe last year you make that play without the rail being there. This year, it's a foul ball tucked away about 2 feet inside the front rail of the Carolina dugout.
Wound up in Walker McDuffie's hands. That would have played an inning or 2 ago, but doesn't work now.
A little surprised how quickly Seagraves fired off the mound to try to make that play. As a pitcher, usually you want your infielders to take control and make that, but he was as close as anybody.
Some pitchers see the ball like that and just want to race after it. It's like a golden retriever.
Payoff pitch. That's straightened out and crushed to deep left center field. Hargett jumps up, hits the wall, and that ball disappears, gone. Hott's second home run of the series, second in as many games. Stanford adds some insurance and leads 7-0 in the 9th on a ball that got out of here in the blink of an eye.
13 consecutive games with a home run now for the Cardinal. And if my math is right, 19 total home runs in those 13 games, and it might be 20.
Stanford's got 20 on the season.
There it is.
After Psalm homered earlier today, and Hott goes yard. 7-zip. Here's Bates. First pitch fastball low, 1-0. Bates hitting out of the 9-hole. 2 strikeouts and a ground out. 0 for 3 this afternoon. The 1-0. Playing foul left side, 1-1. Again, Carolina's got the middle third of the order due up. Stokely, Bassett, Madera. But the hurdle has gotten bigger. Down 7-0. The 1-1. Strike lands on the outside corner. Ball and 2 strikes to Charlie Bates. Left-handed hitting freshman. Seagraves sets to fire the next offering, and that's inning over. Broke one off on the outside corner, and the Heels get off the field. 1 run on the Hott homer. Only hit of the inning. No errors and nobody left. Carolina down to its final 3 outs when we come back for the bottom of the 9th, down 7-0 to Stanford. This is Carolina baseball. In the top of the ninth, we wondered aloud if Aiden Keenan would come on to finish this game. Instead, Stanford goes back to its bullpen, up 7-0, and trying to close out Carolina and get its first ever ACC series win. Torin O'Haron next out of the pen for the visitors from Palo Alto. O'Haron, a 6'1" junior righty, also out of Rockland, California, the same place that produced Brandon Larson. Aims to register the final 3 outs. And if he can do that, Stanford moves to 12-3 on the season. Carolina drops to 14-2 after winning 13 consecutive to begin 2025. 4th best start in program history.
And will somehow come away disappointed from this weekend should the score stand, or should the Tar Heels not find 7 runs in their back pockets.
Carolina hit a season best 4 homers just yesterday, but only 4 hits today. And not a run to speak of as Stanford leads 7-0. The Cardinal earlier this year shut out Washington 2-0 in the first game of that 4-game series. Stanford started out 9-0 before splitting a series with Xavier, and you just kind of wonder how good the Musketeers might be. Beating Stanford 11-3 in the final game of the series and taking a 5-4 margin in game 2. So here's Stokely to lead off the bottom of the 9th for Carolina against O'Haron. First pitch, fastball rockets across the plate knee high. It's a strike, 0-1. O'Haron, an ERA exactly at 3 in his 5th appearance this year. Opponents hitting .227 off of Stanford's right-arm reliever. Second pitch foul tipped, and it's 0-2 to Stokely. Hunter's got 1 of those base hits. He singled in the second, but since then has struck out and hit back to the mound.
Stanford's been able to calm Stokely's bat down from what it was during the non-conference portion.
The 0-2. And Stokely goes down swinging on a high fastball. Strike 3.
O'Haron's got good stuff. It looks effortless out there. He's got strong legs. An athlete. Played football as well in high school.
Stanford with 12 strikeouts on the mound today. That's tied for the most amount of Ks the Tar Heels have taken this year at the plate. And Bass next up to the dish, where he's 0 for 3 with 1 of those strikeouts that came back in the 7th when he went down looking when Keenan was on the mound. First pitch to the righty. Fastball over the inner half at 95. It's a strike, 0-1. Wind has picked up a little bit. Not blowing near as much as it did earlier this weekend, though. The 0-1. Another strike down the middle, and Bass still hasn't gotten the bat off his shoulder. 0-2.
Pretty impressive for Stanford's bullpen when you have a guy who's throwing 95 out of the back end coming in a 7-0 game.
The 0-2 to Bass. Just a little up and away. 1-2 the count. Nobody on. 1 down in the bottom half of the 9th. Heels on the wrong end of a 7-0 score. O'Haron wiggles his shoulders before the 1-2 pitch. Pass lines that over Sasaki at first base and into right field. Sasaki at 6 foot, 275 pounds, couldn't climb the ladder. And Bass aboard with Carolina's 5th base hit.
There's a rare case today of Stanford being out of position. If Sasaki was back maybe a couple feet, he catches that ball.
Well, there's not much we got in common with Sasaki, but I'll say this, our vertical leap is probably competitive.
Why don't you go down there afterwards? You guys can test that out.
In fairness to Sasaki, he's got about 100 pounds on me that he's got to get up in the air that I don't have to worry about.
Yeah, I bet you can't hit the ball as far as he does.
I'd say that's a safe play. Here's Madera. First pitch fastball upstairs, 1-0. Bass leads off of first base. The Tar Heels trail Stanford 7-0 with one down in the bottom half of the ninth. O'Haron's 1-0. Knee high for a strike. 1-1 to Madera. He singled in his last plate appearance in the seventh. 1 for 3 in the game. Here's the 1-1 to the lefty. Taken downstairs, 2-1.
Looks like O'Haron there was having a word with the dugout, asking something.
O'Haron comes set from the first base side of the rubber. And there goes the runner from first base. If there's such a thing as catcher's indifference. Bass gets to second without a throw, and truth be told, I think first base, second base, third base, and shortstop are pretty indifferent to that as well.
Yeah, I'm not sure there's any point in worrying about Bass stealing second base if you're Stanford. Just try and go at the batter, get 2 quick outs.
3 balls and a strike, the count to Madera. Next pitch, that is grounded past third base and into left field. Coach Jackson puts up the stop sign as Bass gets to third base. Madera has his second hit. That's his 7th multi-hit game of the season and the 94th he's had in his career going back to his D3 days at Arcadia. Pretty significant history for Madera as the Tar Heels have runners at first and third with one down in the bottom of the ninth. For Jackson Vanderbrake, hunting his first hit of the afternoon, 0 for 3 with the pair of groundouts and a strikeout.
Sam Angelo is on deck for Carolina in place of Mac Dye.
Sasaki holds the runner over at first base. Madera leads off. Down at third, it's Bass. O'Haron readies to fire the first pitch to the right-handed bat of Jackson Vanderbrake. It's a fastball on the outside corner. 0-1. No midweek action for Stanford. The Cardinal head back to Palo Alto tonight and host Duke Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Be a 7-game homestand for the Cardinal. Next pitch to Vanderbrake. Lob foul out of play right side, 0-2. The Cardinal come back to this side of the country at the end of the month for a 3-game set against Virginia. Carolina, meanwhile, plays almost exclusively on the road until that end-of-month series against Miami. 8 out of the next 9 away from home. The 0-2, strike 3 on the fastball down the middle, and Vanderbrake, the second strikeout victim of O'Haron. And that's a new season high for Ks in the game for the Tar Heels, who've gone down on strikes 13 times today. Those road games coming up for the Tar Heels at Wilmington and at Louisville this upcoming week. Then home game on Wednesday the 19th against UConn before going to Boston College for 3 and a neutral site matchup with South Carolina on the 25th.
UConn, that's another team that's not a traditional midweek game. I mean, UConn's been a great program, probably the best program out of the Northeast. Made the Supers last year, went down to Tallahassee. I believe UConn even took a game from Florida State.
So here's the pinch hitter, Angelo at the plate, takes a strike from O'Haron. 0-1. Carolina down to its final out, trailing 7-0 with runners at the corners. Angelo at the plate, 0 for 3 with a run scored in the series. Started game 1, didn't play yesterday. Next pitch. Finds the zone. And the Heels down to their final strike. 0-2 the count to Angelo. Volchko got it started for Stanford. Keenan got through the latter innings, and it's O'Haron to try to finish it off. The 0-2, Angelo swings and misses at strike 3, and it's game over. Stanford claims its first ACC series in Chapel Hill against the number 4 team in the country, Carolina. Final score, 7-0 in game 3. The Cardinal will have a happy flight back to the West Coast, while the Tar Heels will try to pick up the pieces and head to the East Coast against UNCW on Tuesday to battle the Seahawks.
Carolina just today could not sustain competitive at-bats, went quiet for too long at the plate, and when the Tar Heels got runners on, no one got pushed across, and Tar Heels are shut out at home, like you said, for the first time since before COVID.
Yeah, 5 years ago, the last time the Heels shut out here at Boshemer Stadium. So 2 classy programs exchange handshakes across the plate here at Bryson Field, and who knows if these two might see each other again in Durham at the ACC tournament or somewhere else down the road. But I don't think there's any doubt Stanford came across the country and proved a big point to anybody who might have doubted this program that's been to 3 College World Series since 2021. Not a lot of other directions to go from there, but Stanford seems to be well equipped to navigate the treacherous terrain of the Atlantic Coast Conference, having won 13-9 on Friday and 7-0 here on a Sunday. Carolina took the middle game 11-1, and the Cardinal get off to a 2-1 start to ACC, play the Tar Heels 1-2. And as these two teams go their separate ways, will part ways for now.